Chapter 79. Many thanks. Yan Chuan nodded. At this moment, Qing Long's body emitted bursts of green light again. In the distance, the two essence Qi clones flew over quickly and arrived in front of Qing Long in the blink of an eye. They gradually turned into essence Qi and surrounded Qing Long. Qing Long formed a seal with his hand. The essence Qi around his body condensed again and gradually condensed into a Tenjiang Long azure dragon. The azure dragon became clearer and clearer until it finally looked like a real dragon with distinct edges. Although it was not as domineering as Yan Chuan's will of the golden dragon, it was still vivid and lifelike. White Tiger's eyes shone with surprise. Roar! The azure divine dragon suddenly let out a dragon's roar. The dragon's roar was filled with boundless joy. Boom! The azure dragon formed from essence Qi rushed into Qing Long's body. Qing Long withdrew his aura. Congratulations, big brother, for completely comprehending the Qing Long technique. You have condensed Qing Long. White Tiger congratulated. Mo Yushi also looked satisfied. The azure dragon returned to normal. Naturally, his face was filled with joy. Suddenly, Qing Long bowed respectfully to Yan Chuan. Many thanks, Prince Yan. You were able to comprehend the dragon's form because of your comprehension ability. Yan Chuan smiled. No, this one cultivated the Qing Long technique. The dragon form I condensed was similar to a dragon but not a dragon. However, I was unable to completely condense it because this one has never seen a real dragon. It was really difficult just by imagining it. If not for Prince Yan, I don't know how long I would have to wait. Qing Long said sincerely. That is your good fortune. Yan Chuan smiled. Qing Long was only at the last step in condensing the dragon form. Yan Chuan's will of the golden dragon was only a catalyst, so Yan Chuan did not claim any credit. That's not all. If it weren't for Prince Yan, I might have been drained by the nightmare. I can't thank you enough. In the future, if you need my help, just let me know. Qing Long said solemnly. This is too serious. It's nothing serious. It's what I should do. Qing Long immediately smiled. Yan Chuan gently nodded. I'm not feeling well. I'll take a rest first. I won't disturb you. Yan Chuan said weakly. Prince Yan was injured because of me. Is there anything I can do to help? I have a heart-nourishing pill here. Qing Long immediately said. There's no need for that. I'll be fine after some rest. Yan Chuan smiled. Saintess, about the demonic deer we killed last time, can you? Qing Long looked at Mo Yushi expectantly. I'll leave it to you. Mo Yushi nodded. She reached out her hand and waved her sleeve. A huge block of ice appeared in front of everyone. It was obvious that Mo Yushi also had a spatial treasure. Inside the block of ice, there was a 3-foot-tall giant deer. The giant deer was majestic and colorful. Unfortunately, the giant deer was only a corpse. It was sealed inside the block of ice. This is a Peak Qi Jing Deer King. I hope that Prince Yan will accept it. Qing Long said solemnly. Peak Qi Jing Deer King. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. The demonic beasts he ate before were of the lowest level, only Qi Jing Deer King. But the demonic Deer King in front of him was a whole level higher than Qi Jing Deer King. Demonic beasts had a hard time cultivating. Most of them focused on cultivating their body. Therefore, with each level of cultivation, the yuan qi accumulated in their body would increase exponentially. Peak Qi Jing Deer King. Alright, Hua Guang, take it. This giant Deer King will be divided among the 3,000 soldiers. Hurry up and cultivate. Yan Chuan nodded. Yes. Hua Guang said excitedly. The Qi Jing Deer King had already benefited Hua Guang a lot. How much more powerful would the Qi Jing Deer King be? Moreover, the Qi Jing Deer King was at the peak of the Qi Jing Deer King. I'll share the deer meat for you. Qing Long immediately volunteered. Chapter 80. Monsters at the peak of Qi Jing had extremely thick skin. Even a group of mortals would not be able to cut it open. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Chuan left the rest to the others. Lu Jin escorted him back to the main tent. Although the giant deer was huge, there were many soldiers. Even so, each soldier was given 1 or 2 kilograms of deer meat. This was not ordinary deer meat. It was full of qi and blood and profound qi. 1 or 2 kilograms of deer meat had to be eaten dozens of times before it would not affect the body. Saintess, I was in a state of epiphany and forgot. Qing Long was ashamed. You can't be blamed for entering a state of selflessness. I'm glad that you were able to do it. Mo Yushi shook her head. But Azure Dragon was still a little ashamed. Don't worry. Mr. Monroe may be an expert, but he won't be able to break the formation in a short time. As for Ding Wugu, that half-baked feng shui master, he will only cause more trouble. Mo Yushi shook her head. But we still have Prince Yan. Maybe Prince Yan can really help me. Mo Yushi sighed. Yes. Qing Long did not say anything else. Mo Yushi looked at the main tent. She thought for a while and walked towards it again. Soon, she arrived outside the main tent. Lu Jin just came out from inside. Miss Mo. Lu Jin bowed slightly. How is Prince Yan? Mo Yushi asked with concern. The Lord ate a few fasting pills and fell asleep. Lu Jin said. Can I see? Mo Yushi asked. Lu Jin frowned and remained silent for a while. After all, Mo Yushi's request was a bit rude. Miss Mo, don't wake the Lord. Lu Jin thought for a while and finally said. Lu Jin wanted to stop her, but she gave up in the end. She knew that with Mo Yushi's ability, it would be easy for her to see the state of the Lord. It would be better for her to take a look under her watch. Thank you. Mo Yushi nodded. They entered the main tent. In the tent, Yan Chuan was sleeping on a mahogany bed. He was sleeping peacefully. Saintess? Qing Long was confused. Young Master Yan's mind and willpower are greatly consumed. Mo Yushi sighed slightly. It's my fault. If I didn't fall asleep, I wouldn't have fallen for the nightmare. Qing Long blamed himself. Sleeping? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Mo Yushi. Lu Jin, I want to put another bed in the tent. Lu Jin was slightly stunned. I want to enter the dream and catch the nightmare. Mo Yushi said with certainty. Saintess, you can't. You don't know you're a guest in the dream. Saintess, don't make the same mistake as your subordinate. Qing Long immediately shouted. Mo Yushi shook her head and said, I've already made up my mind. There's no need to persuade me. Yes. Qing Long and White Tiger were helpless. Lu Jin said strangely, Miss Mo, I want to know why you want to do it here. Prince Yan's willpower is strong and his talent is extraordinary. This also means that his Yin spirit is strong. It's even stronger than Qing Long's. Qing Long can attract the nightmare when he falls asleep. If Prince Yan falls asleep, the nightmare won't let him go. If I enter the dream, I might be able to help Prince Yan not be troubled by the nightmare. Mo Yushi explained. Ah. The nightmare will find the Lord. Lu Jin's expression changed. Alright, I'll have to trouble Miss Mo. However, can the two of them dream together? Lu Jin asked strangely. Yes, I've heard that some feng shui arrays can do it. The nightmare, as the creator of dreams, will definitely be able to do it. Qing Long, White Tiger, if anything happens to me, wake me up immediately. Mo Yushi ordered. Yes. They quickly placed a large mahogany bed in the tent, opposite Yan Chuan. Mo Yushi took a calming pill, closed her eyes, and slowly entered the dream. Seeing that Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi had both fallen asleep, everyone slowly left the tent. The moment everyone exited the tent, a voice rang out. A human face slowly floated up from the ground between the two beds. The face revealed a mournful expression. The Yin spirit that was about to enter my mouth was disturbed by you. This time, none of you can leave. The face on the ground revealed a trace of coldness. Swoosh! Yan Chuan entered the dream while he was asleep. In the dream, Yan Chuan was surrounded by people. Yan Chuan stood in the middle, thinking hard about something. Who am I? Why am I here? Yan Chuan thought vaguely. Chapter 81. In the Dreamland. Who am I? Why am I here? Yan Chuan thought in a daze. Around him was a large hall. In the hall, there were two old men standing on the left and right, surrounded by a large number of laughing guests. Yan Chuan stood in the middle of the hall in his groom's robe. Beside him stood the bride with a veil over her head. Who am I? Yan Chuan tried to recall. However, no matter how hard Yan Chuan tried, he couldn't remember. It's time for the wedding ceremony. Why are the bride and groom standing still? The bride and groom must be so happy. They forgot to do something. Young Master Yan is so lucky to marry the number one beauty of Dream Nation, Miss Mo. What a perfect match. Young Master Yan, Miss Mo, you're a match made in heaven. The guests around them were noisy, and there were waves of blessings. Through these blessings, the two newlyweds vaguely understood who they were. The sudden memory loss could make people accept their identity quickly. It was like a dry sponge suddenly meeting water. It was quickly absorbed and a new identity was quickly confirmed. In the dream, everyone thought that everything was real. Bride and groom, it's time for the wedding ceremony. Hurry! The MC at the side immediately woke the couple up. Yes. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi both nodded and agreed in their daze. First bow to heaven and earth. The MC shouted. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi bowed to heaven and earth subconsciously. Second bow to your parents. The MC shouted. The two turned around and bowed respectfully to the two old men. Old Master Yan is so lucky. Yes, Old Master Yan, Old Madam Yan, you'll have grandchildren soon. The blessings around them made the two old men smile from ear to ear. Good, good. Husband and wife, bow to each other. The MC shouted again. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi faced each other. With a trace of confusion and joy, the two of them bowed to each other. As they bowed, the two of them felt an inexplicable tug at their hearts. The ceremony is complete. The master of ceremonies shouted. Crackle! Firecrackers suddenly sounded. Congratulations! Congratulations to the newlywed for giving birth to a child. The entire auditorium was filled with noise, congratulations, and joy. Send them to the bridal chamber. The master of ceremonies shouted. Under the protection of a group of servants, the newlyweds gradually left the scene. Everyone, let's start the feast. Old Master Yan called out. Instantly, the atmosphere became even more lively. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi were led into the bridal chamber. The bride is waiting. The groom should go and toast his friends and family. The MC explained. Okay. Mo Yushi and Yan Chuan agreed in a daze. After the groom left, the servants accompanied the bride in the bridal chamber. Miss, congratulations. The servant immediately congratulated. Mo Yushi was still a little confused. Miss, Prince Yan is a good person. You finally got what you wanted. The Yan family has been practicing medicine for generations, and Miss, our family has been a medicine merchant for generations. What a match made in heaven. The servant said happily. Yes. She nodded. She seemed to have an impression of it, but it was also the first time she heard of it. Outside, a servant accompanied Yan Chuan. Young master, this is your uncle. Let's toast to him first. Uncle is the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights. He often helps us. The servant introduced. Okay. Yan Chuan nodded. After a round of toasting, Yan Chuan got to know everyone in the family. Chapter 82. With a hint of drunkenness, Yan Chuan was sent back to the bridal chamber by his friends and relatives. What a perfect match. The bride is really beautiful. No one in the Great Dream Dynasty can compare to her. Young Master Yan is really lucky. I heard that the current crown prince wants to take the bride as his concubine, but the difference is too big. The court opposed it, so it didn't happen. The banquet continued, and the discussions were endless. And in a corner of the banquet. In the corner, there was a person in a black robe. The hood of the black robe covered his head, and even his face couldn't be seen. His attire was extremely strange, but the people around him didn't think anything of it. The higher you climb, the worse you fall. The happier I'll make you all, the scarier the nightmare will be. You want to catch me? In the dream world, I'm the ruler. I'll break your hearts, I'll make you lose all hope. He. The black-robed figure laughed sinisterly. The black-robed figure was naturally the creator of the dream, the incubus. The incubus designed the dream world, and this was just the beginning. In the bridal chamber. The bride sat by the bed, and the groom walked in, slightly drunk. Wife. I'm here. Yan Chuan revealed a blissful smile. The bride was filled with anticipation and happiness. Wife, I'll lift your veil. Yan Chuan said gently. As he spoke, he gently lifted the veil. Once the veil was lifted, a devastatingly beautiful face was revealed. Yan Chuan stared at this face and was slightly dazed. Wife, you're so beautiful. Husband. She whispered with a red face. Wife, let's drink cross-cupped wine. Yan Chuan said gently. Good wine was poured on the table beside them. The two of them held the wine, looked at each other affectionately, and drank. Wife, let's sleep. Yan Chuan stared at She's beautiful face and said. She nodded shyly. With a sense of happiness, Yan Chuan gently removed She's clothes. Wife, you're so beautiful. Yan Chuan said softly. Every second of the night was worth 1,000 gold. While She was bashful, the two of them formally performed the ceremony of husband and wife. After a night of traveling in the rain and staying in Dongting, the two young people both experienced the beauty of perfect harmony. It wasn't until late into the night that the two of them fell asleep with their fingers interlocked. 1 month later. At the entrance of the underworld. Father, mother, my wife and I are going for an outing at the back of the mountain. We'll be fine. We'll be back by nightfall. Don't worry. Yan Chuan said to the two elders. Be careful on the road. Also, the few of you, protect young master and young madam. The two elders instructed the 4 household servants. Old master, madam, don't worry. The 4 household servants replied. Following that, Yan Chuan and She got on the carriage. The 4 household servants led the horses out of the city and towards the back of the mountain. At the city gate, the black-robed incubus appeared again and coldly looked at the departing carriage. A month of happiness is almost over. Next is the nightmare. Keek. The incubus sneered. 2 hours later, the group walked into a mountain forest. In the carriage, Yan Chuan and She leaned against each other as if they had endless words of love to say to each other. Their fingers interlocked, the two of them looked at the scenery outside the window. Husband, how good would it be if we could stay like this forever? She's eyes blurred as she softly said. We definitely will. I'll definitely protect you for the rest of your life. Yan Chuan said softly. Stop. A household servant suddenly stopped the carriage. Shoo. The horse let out a long neigh. At the same time, the horse's hooves kept stomping as if it was afraid of something. Chapter 83. What's going on? Yan Chuan poked his head out. Young master, it's bad. We've encountered a pack of wolves. A household servant said in fear. Indeed, following the direction of the household servant's gaze, a pack of wolves came out from a small hill not far away. 5, 10, 15, 20 wolves. A total of 20 wolves. The wolves bared their fangs. Young master. A household servant's legs turned to jelly as he cried out. Run, quickly run. Yan Chuan said anxiously. In the dreamscape, Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi were mortals. Naturally, they did not have any earth-shattering abilities. Escort young master and young madam away. A household servant shouted. Jia. With a flick of the whip, the red horse immediately neighed and galloped. Woo! A pack of wolves howled. 20 wild wolves immediately howled as they rushed over. The big hunt had begun. Quick, quick! The household servant said in fear. Husband, why are there wolves here? Mo Yushi asked in fear. It's okay, I'm here. Yan Chuan's eyes also showed a hint of panic. Ah! A household servant's scream could be heard. Turning around, the household servant's neck had already been bitten by a pack of strong wolves. 2 or 3 wolves had stopped to eat. The remaining 17 wolves did not stop at all. They pounced even more ferociously. Run, run! The household servant said in fear. Boom! The carriage hit a big rock, and the carriage stopped immediately. After all, this was a mountain road. The road was rugged. How could the horses run recklessly? This was the territory of the wolves. Yan Chuan grabbed Mo Yushi and rushed out of the carriage. Young master, young madam, run, run! A household servant said in fear. Go up the mountain. Yan Chuan immediately decided. The 2 people and 3 servants ran quickly. However, the wolves did not slow down at all. They were getting closer and closer. Some wolves stayed behind to eat the horses, but some continued to chase after them. Ah! Another household servant was caught by a wild wolf and was quickly dismembered. Husband, husband, how could this be? Mo Yushi was so scared that she started crying. Now is not the time to care about this. Let's go. Yan Chuan's eyes were filled with panic. The shadow of death shrouded the 2 of them as they quickly fled through the forest. His heart was filled with fear. The wolf's footsteps were getting closer and closer. Ah! Another household servant was devoured by the wolves. Woo-woo! The wild wolf howled and continued its pursuit. Ouch! Mo Yushi twisted her ankle and fell down. With this twist, Mo Yushi was unable to get up. Wife! Yan Chuan hugged Mo Yushi and started running again. Husband, leave quickly. Don't worry about me. Mo Yushi cried. You and I are husband and wife. How can I leave you alone? Yan Chuan ignored her. No, there are too many wild wolves. Put me down. Otherwise, you will die too, husband. Mo Yushi cried. Husband, put me down. Woo-woo. Shut up. Yan Chuan suddenly shouted. In the dream, Yan Chuan's personality was gentle. However, in a desperate situation, his personality suddenly became overbearing. Woo! Mo Yushi was frightened by Yan Chuan's shout. However, Mo Yushi naturally understood Yan Chuan's meaning. Yan Chuan did not want to leave her behind. While being shouted at, Mo Yushi's eyes were filled with tenderness. The pack of wolves chased after them. Behind the pack of wolves, the black-robed nightmare demon rode over. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. Yan Chuan. You don't want to leave by yourself? You ruined the feast of fear and despair that I prepared for Mo Yushi. I created the dream, so I make the decisions. It's still early. Pack of wolves, continue chasing. The nightmare demon said coldly. Chapter 84. Young master, there's a cave. Let's go in. The last household servant shouted. All right, let's go in. Yan Chuan carried Mo Yushi and quickly entered the cave. The inside of the cave was twisted and turned. After a slight turn, they arrived at a large space within the cave. Yan Chuan quickly carried Mo Yushi and placed her on a large rock. Woo! The wolf howled again. Go away, go away. The household servant at the entrance of the cave continuously threw rocks at the remaining 5 wolves. Husband, it looks like we're doomed this time. Mo Yushi said in fear. We'll guard this cave. Father and mother will definitely send people to save us. Yan Chuan was abnormally calm at this moment. Ah! Another scream came from the entrance of the cave. The last household servant had died. Yan Chuan looked over and saw the last 5 wolves tearing and devouring the last household servant. The scene was extremely bloody. In the blink of an eye, the household servant was torn to pieces. Mo Yushi seemed to have guessed it as well. Husband, hurry up and leave. The wolves are dividing the food. Hurry up and run from the side. Leave this place quickly. Mo Yushi said with a pale face. Ridiculous. Run? What will you do if I run? Yan Chuan immediately shouted. Otherwise, it will be too late. I'll carry you out. If we're leaving, we'll leave together. I promised you. I will protect you for the rest of my life. Yan Chuan refused. No, carry me. No one will be able to escape. You have to run alone. You have to escape. Mo Yushi said anxiously. You want me to leave? Yan Chuan stared into Mo Yushi's eyes. Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan affectionately. Finally, she nodded solemnly, as long as husband is fine. Looking at Mo Yushi, Yan Chuan also showed a trace of sadness. In the end, he shook his head and said, even if I go out, I may not be able to escape. Mo Yushi shook her head and said, there's still a chance. Husband, you should leave quickly. Quickly. Yan Chuan stared at Mo Yushi and closed his eyes. Suddenly, he raised his head and took a deep breath. Then, he opened his eyes and stared at Mo Yushi's sorrowful face. A rare smile appeared on his face. I, Yan Chuan, have a wife like this. What more can a husband ask for? Husband. Mo Yushi pushed Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan shook his head lightly. With me here, no one will be able to hurt you. No one is allowed to. But, husband, it's going to be too late. Mo Yushi said in despair. Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with determination. He hugged Mo Yushi and kissed Mo Yushi's cherry lips. He kissed her fiercely. This kiss caused Mo Yushi's fear to subside slightly. Remember, you are my, Yan Chuan's woman. Live well. After I die, you will be my widow. Yan Chuan said domineeringly. As he spoke, he placed the dazed Mo Yushi against the wall. He looked around the cave and found a sharp stone. Husband, what are you doing? Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan in confusion. I said before that I will protect you for the rest of your life. The wolves are coming in. I will go out and kill them. Yan Chuan said fiercely. No, husband, you don't know martial arts. Don't go. You won't be able to kill them. Mo, she said anxiously. Turning around, Yan Chuan looked at Mo and smiled tragically. I, Yan Chuan, will not watch my woman die. Once the wolves are full, they will not attack people. If I go out, won't I be able to kill them? But at least we can feed them. Yan Chuan said with a tragic smile. After speaking, Yan Chuan walked out of the cave. I can't kill them, but at least I can feed them. I can't kill them, but at least I can feed them. Yan Chuan's words echoed in Mo Yushi's mind. At this moment, Mo Yushi was completely dumbfounded. Feed the wolves. Feed them with what? Feed them with herself? Mo Yushi's heart felt like it was being squeezed. Her nose suddenly felt sour. No! Mo Yushi cried. Chapter 85. Yan Chuan stepped out of the cave with a sharp stone in his hand. Outside the cave, the 5 wolves were devouring the last household servant. Yan Chuan's expression changed as he grabbed the stone stick. Far away, in the forest, the King of Nightmares kept chanting, "You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar. You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar. You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar." He chanted it over and over again. Yan Chuan, who was far away, was also affected by the Nightmare Lord's dream. I don't know martial arts. What should I do? I'm just a scholar, 5 wolves, 5 heads. Yan Chuan seemed to have received a hint and was slightly flustered. Husband, don't, husband. Mo Yushi's cries came from the cave behind him. The flustered Yan Chuan heard his wife's cries and his expression froze. So what if I don't know martial arts, so what if I'm just a weak scholar? Even if I don't have the strength to truss a chicken, I'll still kill the wolves. Whoever dares to hurt my wife, I'll fight them to the death. Yan Chuan's expression became ferocious. Without waiting for the 5 wolves to come over, Yan Chuan took the lead and rushed forward. Die! Yan Chuan said with a ferocious expression. Chi! The sharp stone knife suddenly pierced through a wolf. The King of Nightmares looked at this scene and said in surprise, how can this be? How can he have such a strong will? In the dream I designed, you were gentle and weak, how can you be so fierce? In reality, what kind of person are you? Woo-woo. The other 4 wolves stopped eating and looked at Yan Chuan. Come on. Come on. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Yan Chuan said fiercely. Woo-woo. The 4 wolves roared. One of the wolves came and pounced on Yan Chuan. Boom. Yan Chuan was pushed to the ground. The stone saber in his hand was also thrown away. However, Yan Chuan hugged the wolf. With one bite, Yan Chuan viciously bit the wolf's throat. Puff! Yan Chuan fiercely bit the wolf's throat, and it died with a whimper. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The other 3 beasts roared. It was as if they couldn't believe that a weak person could bite a wolf to death. The King of Nightmares anxiously formed hand seals. You don't have the guts, you're afraid of the wild wolves, you're afraid of the wild wolves, you're powerless to fight back. You have no guts, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are powerless to resist. You have no guts, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are powerless to resist. The King of Nightmares kept hypnotizing Yan Chuan with his dreams. He wanted Yan Chuan to accept this mentality. Rumble. Rumble. The 3 wolves rushed over together and bit Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was hypnotized by the King of Nightmares, and he also felt a little timid. Don't come over. Yan Chuan said in fear. However, just as a wolf claw scratched Yan Chuan's arm, the bone-scraping pain once again aroused Yan Chuan's instinctive ferocity. Evil beast, you're courting death. Enduring the pain, he grabbed a stone on the ground and threw it at the head of one of the wolves. Perhaps it was instinctive, but Yan Chuan aimed at the wolf's vital point, the skull. Boom! The wolf suddenly felt dizzy. Roar! The other two wolves also started to bite Yan Chuan. His ferocity was aroused, and Yan Chuan became more and more bloodthirsty. Evil beast, you're courting death, death! Yan Chuan shouted fiercely. Rumble. Chapter 86. The weak Yan Chuan, at this moment, seemed to possess divine strength as he fought with the three wolves. Even though Yan Chuan's body was bleeding profusely and his wounds were increasing, he did not cry out in pain. There was only his ferocious nature that was constantly awakened. Rumble. The cave entrance was in a mess, smoke and dust flying everywhere. In the distance, the incubus continuously tried to hypnotize Yan Chuan, but the more he tried, the more ferocious Yan Chuan became. How can this be? The incubus looked at Yan Chuan in shock. I can't force him anymore. If I force him, he will break through the dream barrier and awaken. What kind of willpower is this? He's so domineering even in his dreams. What kind of person have I met? The incubus wanted to cry but had no tears. In the cave. She heard the sounds of battle outside the cave and knew that Yan Chuan was fighting with the wolves. But her legs were bruised and she could not move at all. Husband. She's tears flowed uncontrollably. She's heart felt like it was being torn apart. She prayed that Yan Chuan would be fine, but she knew that it was impossible. Her husband was just a weak scholar, but he was facing a pack of starving wolves. Was there a way out? Wang! With a final loud sound, the outside world suddenly became silent. There was no sound from the outside world. She froze, thinking that Yan Chuan had died. For her, he fed himself to the wolves. I definitely will. I will protect you for the rest of your life. With me around, no one will dare to hurt you. No one will. Remember, you are Yan Chuan's woman. Live well. After I die, you will be my widow. I, Yan Chuan, will not watch my woman die. When the wolves are full, they will not attack people. If I go out, won't I be able to kill them? But at least I can feed them. The short memory made She understand what it meant to be heartbroken. Husband, I will always be a member of the Yan family. She said in despair. After he finished speaking, he fell into a deep slumber due to mental and physical exhaustion. After an unknown period of time, She vaguely heard some voices. Young master, young madam, where are you? Young miss, young master, where are you? A faintly discernible voice came from afar. She suddenly remembered everything. She thought of the situation she was in and the fact that Yan Chuan had died for her. Her vision darkened and she almost fainted again. She forced herself not to collapse, but her face was already covered in tears. Miss, where are you? The voice from the outside world sounded again. Here. She held back her tears and shouted. Over there, Mrs. Voice. Over there, quick, quick, quick. An urgent voice called out. Ah! Young master. Let's go in and take a look. When the servant and household servant rushed into the cave, they immediately saw She. Miss, that's great. Miss, you're fine. The servant rushed over. She revealed a bitter smile. Fine. Her husband was dead, how could she be fine? Miss, that's great. You and young master are still alive. That's great. The servant said excitedly. Young master. Husband is still alive. She quivered. Yes, we were really shocked just now. Young master is injured all over, but he's still breathing. He's still alive. Young master is fine, you're fine too. That's great, that's great. The servant said. Husband is still alive. I want to see husband, I want to see husband. She was so emotional that she danced with joy. Tears flowed from her eyes like water. Chapter 87. After the incident at the back of the mountain, the couple's relationship improved and they became even more affectionate. Outside the Yen Manor. The King of Nightmares' face twitched. I am the greatest King of Nightmares. I am the creator of nightmares. Is this a nightmare? This is a wet dream. Damn it, I will make you all despair. Humph. The King of Nightmares said gloomily. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. In the backyard of the Yen Manor. Yen Chuan was practicing calligraphy in the yard. She was standing beside him with her big belly. Husband, your calligraphy is so beautiful. She said gently. I don't know why, but my calligraphy has been getting better and better. It's like I was born with it. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Ah. She frowned. What's wrong? Yen Chuan immediately went to help her. The little guy kicked me. She touched her belly lovingly. Brat, how dare you kick your mother? When you come out, I'll definitely spank you. Yen Chuan said in all seriousness. You're so annoying. She said with a smile. Ha, I am supporting you. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Husband, do you want a boy or a girl? She asked expectantly. I want both. I like both. Yen Chuan said while touching She's belly. Then, why don't you give the child a name? She said. I have already thought of a name. It will be Dong En. Yen Dong En. Thanks to that cave, we wouldn't be here today and there wouldn't be a Dong En. Yen Chuan said gently. Yes, Yen Dong En. She said gently. Miss, young master. Bad news. A maid hurriedly ran into the backyard. What's wrong? Yen Chuan frowned and looked at the maid. His Majesty passed away a month ago. Now, the Crown Prince has ascended to the throne. The maid said in a panic. Crown Prince? She was confused. Miss, have you forgotten? Before you and the son-in-law got married, you met the Crown Prince at a poetry gathering. When the Crown Prince saw the young miss, he was stunned by her beauty and swore an oath to marry her. At that time, the court objected, but the young miss didn't take it seriously. However, the Crown Prince didn't forget. Furthermore, he's now the emperor. So what? I am now a member of the Yen family. What else can he do? She was puzzled. Yes, the new emperor has already sent someone to meet your parents. I came here secretly. His Majesty hasn't given up yet. It seems. The maid said anxiously. Like what? She started to panic. It seems like they want to take the young miss back. The maid said. Ah. She's expression changed. Bastard. Yen Chuan slammed his palm on the stone table. Miss, I'm just here to report. I'll go back first. The maid quickly left. Husband. She looked at Yen Chuan. Don't worry. No one can break us apart. Yen Chuan said in a low voice. But, he's the emperor. Who can be more powerful than him in the great dream country? She said sadly. So what if he's the emperor? No one can. Yen Chuan said in a low voice. She nodded. After thinking for a while, a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Husband, the Mo family is a merchant of medicinal herbs. Actually, the Mo family also has a treasure. If there's really no way out, we'll fight to the death. We'll get rid of the emperor first. Treasure? Yen Chuan looked at She doubtfully. It's passed down from my ancestors. I think it's a poisonous spiritual herb that my ancestors dug up in the deep mountains. It's called Ghost City Grass. Mo Yushi thought for a while and said. Chapter 88. Ghost City Grass. The so-called Ghost City Grass is when it is ignited in a city. The poisonous smoke formed can quickly kill the people in the city, turning the city into a ghost city. So powerful? Yan Chuan was surprised. When the time comes, as long as it is ignited within 10 miles of the new emperor, I guarantee that he will die. Mo Yushi's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. We can try, let me see. Yan Chuan was instantly interested. Okay, I will send someone to get it immediately. Mo Yushi said immediately. 4 hours later, in Yan Chuan's room. Husband, it is in this jade box. Mo Yushi said. In the jade box, there was a bunch of palm-sized purple grass. Ghost City Grass, extremely poisonous. Mo Yushi looked at the grass in the box with satisfaction. Yan Chuan, on the other hand, looked at his left wrist. On his left wrist, there was a seed-like birthmark. It was not a big deal as a birthmark, but this birthmark was flashing with green light. It was flashing and it was extremely strange. Why is it like this? Yan Chuan looked at the birthmark with a complicated expression. Flashing? Why is it flashing? Isn't this a birthmark? Yan Chuan stared at the birthmark and kept thinking. He seemed to be in a daze. Husband? Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan strangely. Yan Chuan waved his hand, indicating that Mo Yushi should not disturb him. Mo Yushi obediently stopped talking. Yan Chuan kept thinking, as if he was about to think, but there was always a layer of fog. What is it? I think I have some impression, but why can't I remember? Yan Chuan frowned and thought hard. He pondered for an entire 2 hours. Mo Yushi waited patiently. Poison ivy. Yan Chuan abruptly raised his head, his eyes shining brightly. Boom! A large amount of memories rushed into Yan Chuan's mind. Memories, more and more memories. Yan Chuan's face gradually relaxed. The light in his eyes grew brighter and brighter. On the other hand, Mo Yushi waited worriedly by the side. Seeing Yan Chuan's expression, Mo Yushi immediately revealed a worried expression. She wanted to call out to Yan Chuan several times to ask what was wrong, but she was also an extremely intelligent person, so she restrained her curiosity. Yan Chuan continued to recall everything. Poison ivy? Ha 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 ha. Yan Chuan suddenly burst into laughter. He let out a long sigh, as if his entire body had become much more comfortable. The King of Nightmares found me. Dream? What a dream realm. Yan Chuan said with a solemn expression. Husband, what's wrong? Mo Yushi finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Turning his head, Yan Chuan looked at Mo Yushi with a serious expression. Husband, why are you looking at me like that? Mo Yushi was frightened. Seeing Mo Yushi's fear, Yan Chuan's expression also eased. Thinking about his current identity, he revealed a bitter smile. Saintess Yushi. Yan Chuan called out tentatively. Husband, what did you say? Don't scare me. Mo Yushi said worriedly. Looking at the frightened Mo Yushi, Yan Chuan's expression was complicated. After thinking for a while, he decided not to awaken Mo Yushi's memories. Don't worry, I'm here, nothing will happen. Big Dream Emperor. He's nothing, we can definitely get through this. Moreover, since I'm awake, then I'll capture the King of Nightmares. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Husband, what did you say? Why can't I understand? Mo Yushi asked curiously. You don't need to understand, just leave everything to me. Yan Chuan comforted her. Okay. Mo Yushi gently leaned into Yan Chuan's embrace. Yan Chuan hugged Mo Yushi with a complicated expression. Although it was just a dream, and everything would be treated as if nothing had happened after waking up, this memory might never be erased. A few months of being husband and wife left a deeper impression than many vows of eternal love. Yan Chuan could wake Mo Yushi up in a dream, but what about after waking her up? How would the two of them interact? Once the King of Nightmares discovered something unusual and gave himself away, it would be difficult to capture the King of Nightmares. Therefore, Yan Chuan kept it a secret for the time being. Chapter 89. In the Dreamscape. Great Dream Dynasty's Imperial Palace. Great Dream Emperor was clad in a dragon robe. His face was handsome and his body was sturdy. At this moment, he was anxiously looking at a black-robed man. State Preceptor, that Mo family actually has the Ghost City grass, what should we do? Great Dream Emperor asked worriedly. Does your majesty want Mo Yushi? The Dream Demon smiled faintly. Of course, if it wasn't for the throne, I would have forced Mo Yushi to be my concubine. Now, I am the Great Dream Emperor. In the entire Great Dream Dynasty, I am the most powerful. What I want is mine. The Great Dream Emperor said solemnly. Yes, you are the Great Dream Emperor, the entire Great Dream Dynasty is yours. Mo Yushi must also be yours. The Dream Demon hypnotized. Yes, I must have Mo Yushi. Yen family. I will slaughter their entire family. If Mo Yushi doesn't agree to be my concubine, I will kill her parents and exterminate her 9 generations. The Great Dream Emperor said coldly. As for the Ghost City grass. They have it, so do I. I can use half of my strength to create a spiritual object that can restrain the Ghost City grass. The Dream Demon said solemnly. In the dreamscape, the Dream Demon had to pay a price to create a dream. To break the balance, there must be a price. Good, I will trouble State Preceptor. State Preceptor, go create the spiritual object. Ha 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 ha. The Great Dream Emperor laughed loudly. Yen Manor, Yan Chuan's study room. Mo Yushi was gently grinding ink with her big belly. Yan Chuan was looking at a map on the table. The map was very strange, only the center of the map was marked. The rest of the map was blank. Husband, you have been looking at this Great Dream Dynasty map for a long time. Mo Yushi asked curiously. For a long time. Ha! Yan Chuan smiled faintly. After laughing, Yan Chuan looked at the Great Dream Dynasty map again. His eyes narrowed slightly as he thought in his heart, a dream demon creates a dream, but this dream is mine. Disrupting my dreamscape. Demonizing my dreamscape. How can I allow others to dictate my dreamscape? Husband, the ink is ready. Mo Yushi said gently. Thank you for your hard work, wife. Yan Chuan said. It's not hard at all. Mo Yushi said gently. Yan Chuan picked up the brush, dipped it in ink, and looked at the map again. Nightmares demonize my dreamscape so that I can't interfere. I'll start a new dream. Expand the territory of the dream world. Creating a world with a brush stroke. In reality, that's a legendary realm. I can't do it, but this isn't reality. This is a dream. In my own dreamland, I can do everything I can imagine. Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Picking up the brush, Yan Chuan wrote a large character on the east side of the Great Dream Dynasty's map. Qin. As soon as the word Qin was spoken, there was a lot of noise in the map. Hiss. Roar. Kill. Endless neighs of horses and the roars of thousands of soldiers could be heard. The whole area around the word Qin seemed to be emitting rays of black light, slowly eroding an area that was about the size of the Great Dream Dynasty's territory. This, husband, why is there a sound in the map? Mo Yushi said in surprise. This is the east of the Great Dream Dynasty. A dynasty called Qin has been born. Thousands of soldiers and horses, listen to my command. Ah. Mo Yushi was confused. Yan Chuan didn't stop. Instead, he continued to write around the Great Dream Dynasty's map. Zhao. Han. Wei. Wu. Shu. Tang. Ming. Qin, Zhao, Han, Wei, Shu, Wu, Tang, Ming. As soon as the 8 words appeared, they formed 8 different colored maps, surrounding the Great Dream Dynasty's territory in the center. Chapter 90. Hiss. Roar. Kill. I'm invincible. In the map, the roars of countless soldiers could be heard. Waves of murderous aura seemed to be spewing out from the map. The 8 great dynasties had a grand and boundless aura. Yan Chuan looked at this scene with satisfaction. Mo Yushi, who was at the side, hugged Yan Chuan's arm, her face full of fear. Husband. This. Mo Yushi was so frightened that she did not know what to say. Don't ask why. You just need to know that I won't harm you. Yan Chuan said gently. In the past, even though Mo Yushi was Yan Chuan's wife, she might have been suspicious and anxious. However, after escaping from the wolf's mouth, Mo Yushi no longer had any doubts and nodded naturally. These days, you've been acting a little different. I don't understand. However, I believe you. You told me not to ask, so I won't ask. Mo Yushi said gently. You'll understand in the future. Yan Chuan said gently. Mo Yushi leaned on Yan Chuan's shoulder emotionally. Qin, Zhao, Han, Wei, Shu, Wu, Tang, Ming. 8th King, listen to my command. Gather all of our forces and ambush the Great Dream Empire. Wait for my command. Yan Chuan shouted at the map. Roar. In the map, there was a roar in unison. 2 months later, in the palace of the Great Dream Dynasty. The emperor of the Great Dream Dynasty was having a secret meeting with an important official. Your Majesty, the neighboring countries have been restless recently. They seem to be making a big move. According to the reports, the 8 great kingdoms are preparing their troops and preparing for war at any time. Do you know where they're going? Great Dream Emperor asked. I don't know. Since you don't know, then investigate further. I don't have time to care about this now. Great Dream Emperor said. Your Majesty, how can you ignore the country's affairs for a woman? How dare you? Great Dream Emperor glared. Your Majesty, for the sake of Dream Country, even if I die, I will make your Majesty realize that Mo Yushi is a disaster. Bastard, I don't need you to teach me about my matters. Scram! Great Dream Emperor shouted. Your Majesty. The officials all knelt down. Men, drag him away. Great Dream Emperor shouted. A group of guards quickly dragged the ministers away. Just as the officials were about to leave, King of Nightmares dragged his frail body into the room. Your Majesty. Nightmare handed over a jade box. The Great Dream Emperor took the jade box. Inside the jade box was a fist-sized red bead. The red bead emitted a faint red light. Your Majesty, this is the poison-fixing bead that I have condensed using half of my power. Wherever the poison-fixing bead is located, the poison-fixing bead will neutralize all poisonous fog and smoke within a 10-mile radius. Nightmare said proudly. Good. With this poison-fixing bead, I don't need to fear the assassination of that ghost city grass. I can use all my strength to snatch Mo Yushi. Great Dream Emperor said excitedly. Not only that, when Yan Chuan took Mo Yushi, we must torture him even more. Not only physically, but also mentally. We must kill his entire family in front of him, so that he will be in so much pain that he will wish he was dead and lose all hope. The Nightmare Lord said. Yes, I want him to die miserably. Great Dream Emperor nodded. And Mo Yushi, Your Majesty. Back then, she didn't know what was good for her. Your Majesty must punish her. Nightmare continued. That's right. I want to kill Yan Chuan in front of her. Great Dream Emperor nodded like a puppet. Chapter 91. Alright, Your Majesty, go all out. The incubus smiled evilly. Men! The Great Dream Emperor shouted. An official walked in. Pass down the order to the military town of Mingzhou City. Capture everyone from the Yen family and the Mo family. The Great Dream Emperor shouted. Your Majesty, do you want to capture everyone? Pass down the order to the military town. I'm worried that if the commotion is too big, the Yen family and the Mo family will receive the news in advance and escape capture. The official frowned slightly. It's fine. The entire Mingzhou city is filled with my spies. The Yen family and the Mo family won't be able to escape. The incubus smiled evilly. That's good. The official replied. Not good. The incubus's expression suddenly changed. Imperial tutor, what's wrong? The Great Dream Emperor was puzzled. The incubus closed his eyes for a moment and suddenly opened them. How is that possible? Why are all the spies I set up in Mingzhou City dead? Who died? I know. It must be the Ghost City grass. The incubus immediately exclaimed. I have the poison fixing pearl. Why should I be afraid of the Ghost City grass? The Great Dream Emperor said. The incubus turned to look at the poison fixing pearl. His face twitched and a wave of depression surged from his heart. The poison fixing pearl is useless. The incubus said sullenly. This spiritual item had consumed half of his strength. The incubus actually didn't need it before it could be used. The incubus was extremely conflicted. Why did he ignite the Ghost City grass? Is Yan Chuan crazy? Why did I meet such a person who doesn't follow common sense? Nothing good has happened since I entered this dream. The incubus was depressed. Your Majesty, there's an urgent report from Mingzhou. A voice came from outside the hall. Come in. The Great Dream Emperor shouted. Soon, an official entered the hall. Your Majesty, the soldiers and civilians of Mingzhou City have rebelled. The official said. Rebelled? The Great Dream Emperor's expression changed. Mingzhou City, on top of the southern city tower. Yan Chuan placed his hands on the railings of the city tower and stared into the distance. Outside the city, an army of 100,000 was already gathered in all directions, eyeing Mingzhou's city gate tower with hostility. There was a commander's platform in the center. Great Dream Emperor, dressed in dragon robes, sat on a dragon throne, staring coldly at Yan Chuan. Behind Great Dream Emperor was a black-robed nightmare demon. Roar! 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 The army of 100,000 roared, their roars shaking the heavens. The Great Dream Emperor stretched out his hand, and the three armies immediately quieted down. Yan Chuan, how dare you? Great Dream Emperor shouted. Who do you think you are? Yan Chuan said indifferently. Bastard, when I break through the city, I'll definitely cut you into 1,000 pieces. Great Dream Emperor shouted coldly. Destroy the city. Mingzhou City was 80 feet high and 30 feet thick. How could it be breached? With just the few of you. Yan Chuan said disdainfully. How long can you defend? The food in the city can support you for a month at most, right? Great Dream Emperor said coldly. Yan Chuan glanced disdainfully at Great Dream Emperor and ignored him. Instead, he looked at the black-robed Nightmare Demon. Nightmare Demon, puppet Great Dream Emperor, interesting, right? Yan Chuan said indifferently. You know me. You're awake. The Nightmare Demon was shocked. What do you think? Yan Chuan said coldly. He stared at the Nightmare Demon. How can you be awake? How can you be awake? Why can't I be awake? Yan Chuan said with a faint smile. I know, no wonder you wanted to use the ghost city grass to poison the entire Mingzhou city. The nightmare demon shouted. This is my dream, but there are traces of you everywhere. Only by cleaning Mingzhou city can I make you lose control of it. Yan Chuan said indifferently. Chapter 92. Humph, the dream realm is so big. What is a bright prefecture city? I control the entire dream realm. Great Dream Dynasty's various provinces and towns will soon have an endless army rushing over. Once Bright Prefecture City is breached, you and Mo Yushi will become my prisoners. As long as I don't let you wake up, you'll live in this world forever. I'll slowly play you to death. Nightmare said hatefully. While talking, Great Dream Emperor and the 100,000 soldiers were all like puppets. Clearly, it was as Yan Chuan said, all controlled by Nightmare. You control the world. An endless army. Yan Chuan smiled faintly. Report. Reporting to your majesty, the Great Qin state in the east has invaded with all its might. Now, they have already captured 16 cities of our Yong prefecture. The scout said in panic. Great Qin. How did it come to Great Qin? Nightmare's face fell. Report. Great Zhao invaded with all its might, 12 cities fell. Report. Great Wei invaded with all its might, 14 cities fell. Report. Reports of defeat came in continuously. On the commander platform, Great Dream Emperor's expression changed repeatedly. Nightmare was also abnormally shocked. Impossible, 8 countries invading at the same time. Why at this time? Nightmare said in disbelief. Suddenly lifting his head, he saw Yan Chuan smiling coldly. You created 8 countries again. This is impossible. Nightmare cried out in shock. Dreaming, naturally, whatever I want, I have it. Ha 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 ha. Yan Chuan said with a laugh. The King of Nightmares looked at Yan Chuan in shock. How much do you know about my nightmare race? Nightmare said worriedly. How much do you know? Just as you said, if no one in the outside world woke me up and you didn't let me wake up, even if I died in the dream, I wouldn't wake up and would only enter a deeper level of the dream realm. Similarly, in the real world, if I don't wake up, you can forget about leaving my dream realm too. Now, even if you let me wake up, I won't agree either. Yan Chuan said with a glare. How did you know? Nightmare asked in disbelief. I also know that in order to enter my dreamscape, you fused your power with my dreamscape. In other words, you fused with the Great Dream Dynasty. The more cities the Great Dream Dynasty loses, the more power you lose. The Nightmare clan created nightmares for others. Today, I'll also create a nightmare for you. Yan Chuan smiled. No, it's impossible for you to know the secret of my Nightmare clan. Impossible. The Nightmare Lord cried out in shock. Reporting. The Great Qin army did not stop and occupied another 2 cities of our dynasty. Reporting. With the loss of one city after another, the power of the Nightmare Lord became weaker and weaker. Attack the city. Attack the city by force. The King of Nightmares screamed. Attack the city. Great Dream Emperor commanded like a puppet. Roar. The 100,000 strong army charged towards Mingzhou city. Guard the city gates strictly. Fire arrows from the city tower. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. A large number of soldiers on the city gate tower responded loudly. Yan Chuan glanced at the furious Nightmare Lord in the distance and smiled. Why is it like this? I'm the greatest Nightmare clan. I'm the Nightmare Lord. In the dream, I should be the one in charge. Why is it like this? The Nightmare Lord muttered to himself. Inside the city, Yama Manor. Ah! Mo Yushi's pained cries rang out continuously. Young madam, put in more effort. Put in more effort. It's about to come out. Ah! Woo! Ah! Mo, she cried out in pain. Young madam, put in more effort. I can already see the head. It's about to come out. It's about to come out. Oh. Chapter 93. On the city gate tower. Yan Chuan coldly stared at Nightmare Lord. The two armies clashed. Although they had siege weapons, Yan Chuan's army was endless. In the dream, Yan Chuan controlled Bright Province City. As long as Yan Chuan moved his brush, he could create an endless army. The army outside the city could not enter. Reporting. The Great Han has invaded 3 more cities of our dynasty. Reporting. The Great Tang has invaded 6 more cities of our dynasty. In the dream, time was a hazy concept. News that should have taken a month or even several months was now coming in an unending stream. The constant reports of defeat did not seem to give Nightmare Lord a chance to catch his breath. Impossible. Impossible. Nightmare Lord Jiaohu cried out. Reporting. The capital of the Great Dream Empire has been occupied by the Great Qin. Another scout sorrowfully cried out. What? Nightmare Lord's body swayed as he felt dizzy. Reporting. The Great Tang army has appeared 50 li to the west. Reporting. The Great Zhao army has appeared 40 li to the south. Reporting. More and more bad news came. Bright Province City had yet to be taken, but the armies of the 8 kingdoms had already surrounded it. The armies of the 8 kingdoms slowly spread out, and it was possible to see a cloud of dust rising from all sides. No, no. Nightmare Lord roared in disbelief. Kill. Yan Chuan roared. The gates of Bright Province City opened, and a large number of soldiers charged out, joining the armies of the 8 kingdoms. They began to slaughter the few remaining soldiers. How could this be? State Preceptor, what do we do? The Emperor of the Great Dream Empire asked. What could Nightmare Lord do? After all, this was Yan Chuan's dream, and he was just an outsider. While Yan Chuan did not know how to control the dream, he could throw it into chaos. But now, Yan Chuan's will was extremely firm, and he could not interfere. Kill. With 1 million soldiers, the Great Dream Empire's last bit of strength was incapable of resisting. In the blink of an eye, all of them were about to die. Yan Chuan stood on top of the city gate tower and coldly watched the scene below. Yan Chuan was best at fighting on the battlefield. In his dream, he was naturally invincible. The Great Dream Dynasty was completely under the control of Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan stared at the King of Nightmares. At this moment, the incubus was surrounded by battle cries, but no one rushed to him. With the fall of Great Dream Dynasty, Nightmare Lord knew that all his plans had failed. Even in a dream, there's a day when I'm defeated. I'm Nightmare Lord. Nightmare Lord said bitterly. Yan Chuan, I can't do anything to you, and you can't do anything to me. The King of Nightmares said with hatred. After saying that, the Nightmare Lord soared into the sky and was about to flee toward the south. You could still borrow the power of Dream Fuse to escape, but now, the Great Dream Dynasty has been destroyed, and the Dream Realm is under my control. You want to leave? Yan Chuan glared. Roar. In Yan Chuan's eyes, 1,000 zhang long golden dragon rushed out. In the dream, Yan Chuan's will was the golden dragon. It was as if the golden dragon had a physical form, and its dragon might was boundless and invincible. The King of Nightmares, who was fleeing, turned his head and immediately saw the domineering golden dragon. Cultivating the spirit and returning to the void? You are an emptiness realm expert. How is this possible? How can you be an emptiness realm expert? The King of Nightmares cried out in surprise. Roar. The golden dragon grabbed the King of Nightmares with its claws, and immediately, the King of Nightmares had nowhere to run. The golden dragon flew back and circled around Yan Chuan. Chapter 94. Refining the spirit back to the void? Emptiness realm expert. That's impossible. Aren't you immortal? The king of nightmares screamed. I can't do anything to you. Yan Chuan sneered. That feng shui master lied to me. He said a virtual realm expert wouldn't enter a feng shui formation. How did you get in? He lied to me. Ah! The king of nightmares screamed. A feng shui master? You mean the feng shui formation you're guarding? Yan Chuan asked. Senior, please spare me. I can be your servant. The king of nightmares cried out in panic. Yan Chuan shook his head. Servant? I don't trust you. No, I can swear an oath, senior. The king of nightmares screamed. Swear? I don't believe that. Besides, if you don't die, the feng shui formation we're trapped in won't break. Yan Chuan shook his head. The golden dragon opened its mouth and spewed golden flames at the king of nightmares. No. Ah! The king of nightmares screamed in agony. The king of nightmares' body seemed to melt under the golden flames. The power of the virtual realm. The king of nightmares couldn't resist it at all. Yan Chuan looked on coldly. Rumble. The dreamscape shook as if an earthquake had struck. As the king of nightmares died, the entire dreamscape seemed to be on the verge of destruction. Inside the city, in hell. Wah! Wah! Congratulations, young madam. It's a son. It's a son. The midwife ran to Mo Yushi with the baby in her arms. Mo Yushi looked weak. Her hair was plastered to her face with sweat. She looked at the baby the midwife handed her. Her face was full of love. Dong En, my Dong En. Mo Yushi hugged the baby weakly. Rumble. Suddenly, the room began to shake. Ah! Not good. It's an earthquake. The household servant screamed. Mo Yushi looked around in shock. Wah! Wah! The baby cried as if he was afraid of the end of the world. Ah! The golden dragon's golden flames completely melted the nightmare demon, turning it into a transparent liquid. With one last cry, the heavens and earth were torn apart. It's time to wake up. Yan Chuan let out a long sigh. Rumble. The dreamscape collapsed. The golden dragon grabbed the liquid form of the nightmare and rushed into Yan Chuan's body. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Mo Yushi hugged the baby and looked around in horror. As the surroundings crumbled, everything became illusory. As for the baby in her arms, it gradually faded and disappeared. No, Dong En, Dong En. Mo Yushi screamed crazily. Buzz. The dreamscape shattered. The people in the real world woke up. Qing Long, White Tiger, and Lu Jin were standing guard outside the tent. Suddenly, they heard the sound of Jiaohu coming from inside the tent. Dong En, my Dong En. Mo Yushi's sorrowful cries came from inside the tent. The saintess is awake. Everyone's expressions changed as they rushed into the tent. There were 2 large beds in the tent. Mo Yushi's eyes were closed, and she seemed to be holding something in her hands. Saintess. Saintess. Qing Long and White Tiger said anxiously. On the other side, Yan Chuan's eyes suddenly opened. Lord. Lu Jin immediately went forward. Brush. Yan Chuan said anxiously. Yes. Lu Jin quickly took out Yan Chuan's jade brush. Yan Chuan grabbed the brush, and a transparent liquid suddenly appeared in front of him. The liquid touched the brush and was immediately sucked in. After it was sucked in, the jade brush emitted a faint mist. It was dreamy and illusory. Lord, what is this? Lu Jin asked in shock. This is the dream nature obtained from refining the Nightmare Lord. With this dream nature, it will add a lot of color to this brush. This brush will be called Dream Immortal in the future. Yan Chuan said with satisfaction. On the other side. Hugh. Mo Yushi woke up from her dream with tears streaming down her face. Dong En. Mo Yushi woke up with a sorrowful cry. Saintess. Qing Long and White Tiger shouted. Mo Yushi was slightly stunned. A large amount of memories flooded her mind, and she remembered everything in the blink of an eye. After remembering everything, Mo Yushi stopped shouting. She took a deep breath and looked at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan also looked at Mo Yushi. When their eyes met, their bodies froze. Although it was a dream, the couple's life was still vivid in their minds. They even gave birth to a son, Yan Dong En. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and nodded at Mo Yushi. Yan Chuan knew that a dream was just a dream. Mo Yushi could not be the same as in a dream. Seeing Yan Chuan nod, Mo Yushi's eyes became more complicated. With an indescribable emotion, she nodded at Yan Chuan. The two looked at each other awkwardly and let go of each other's gaze. Chapter 95. Holy Maiden, are you all right? Qing Long asked anxiously. Gently shaking her head, Mo Yushi said, you guys go out first. Yes. Qing Long and White Tiger replied. Go out first. Yan Chuan said to Lu Jin. Yes. Lu Jin respectfully withdrew from the tent. In the blink of an eye, only Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi were left in the tent. Mo Yushi sat up and looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. She didn't know where to begin. The nightmare is gone. Are you feeling better? Yan Chuan asked softly. Taking a deep breath, Mo Yushi's face broke into a smile. Thank you, Prince Yan. Mo Yushi took several deep breaths. The cage is broken. Don't worry about Ding Wugu and the others. The inner formation isn't that easy to break. Once we leave the cage, we'll reach the deepest part of the feng shui formation, Yan Chuan said. The deepest part? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Correct. This feng shui cage is both a desperate situation and a shortcut. It's not easy to break it, but once it's broken, we'll reach the deepest part. Fortune and disaster are interdependent. Who can say for sure? Yan Chuan smiled. You know a lot. Mo Yushi blurted out. Perhaps the love in the dream had been too unforgettable. At this moment, Mo Yushi's eyes revealed a sliver of emotion that she didn't even notice. It was very faint. Neither of them noticed. Yan Chuan quietly looked at Mo Yushi for a while, then gently stood up. I'm here. I'll help you get the Myriad Wonders demonic lotus. With that, Yan Chuan slowly stepped out of the tent. Mo Yushi stared at Yan Chuan's back view in a daze. The words I'm here kept echoing in her mind. Although it was just 3 words, they were heartwarming. Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan and was momentarily speechless. After Yan Chuan walked out of the tent, Mo Yushi once again took deep breaths to shake off the interference of the dream world. Yan Chuan walked out of the tent and saw 3,000 soldiers gathered outside. Lord. Huo Guang said respectfully. Lord, 8 gates have appeared in all directions. Has the cage been broken? Lu Jin asked excitedly. Qing Long and White Tiger have also gone to investigate the 8 gates. Huo Guang said from the side. Yan Chuan looked around. Indeed, there were 8 gates on the walls. Qing Long and White Tiger were investigating. How long have I been asleep? Yan Chuan turned around and looked at Lu Jin. 2 months. Luckily, Lord ate a few fasting pills before sleeping. Lu Jin said. 2 months? Then what do you eat? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Qing Long gave us the Peak Qi Jing demonic deer last time. It allowed us to hold on for a while. After that, Qinglong and White Tiger gave us 3 more demonic beasts. Although they were not as strong as the demonic deer, they were still Qijing demonic beasts. We owe them a lot these days. Huo Guang said excitedly. Oh. If that's the case, then your cultivation has improved. Yan Chuan's eyes lit up. Yes, my subordinates are at LV9 of the Strength Realm. 10 of them are at LV8 of the Strength Realm. The rest are at LV7 of the Strength Realm. In the entire Yen state, our protector battalion will be the best. Huo Guang said excitedly. Not far away, the 3,000 soldiers also said with admiration in their eyes. Their excitement was indescribable. Good, I am very happy. Yan Chuan said with satisfaction. But LV7 of the Strength Realm? LV8? LV9? Is it enough? I think it's still far from enough. There are still the Essence, Qi, and Immortal realms above. Do you want to follow me to the Immortals' territory? Yan Chuan looked at the Silver Armor Battalion. The Immortals' territory? Yes. The 3,000 soldiers said excitedly. Chapter 96. Alright, remember what you said. Now, I'm going to reorganize the Lord Protector Battalion. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Change the Lord Protector Battalion to the 1st Legion. Huo Guang will appoint the 1st Legion commander. 5 people will be a sergeant, 10 people will be a sergeant, and 100 people will be a sergeant. 1,000 people will be a sergeant. Huo Guang will choose and reorganize the legion. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers answered loudly. Changing the military system would definitely change the status of many generals in the army, causing the morale of the army to fluctuate. However, at this moment, no one objected. As Huo Guang reorganized the 1st Legion, Lu Jin set up a table for Yan Chuan. She took out a scroll and took out several plates of delicacies from the scroll. Lord, these are the demonic beast meat left for the Lord. The Lord hasn't eaten anything for 2 months. Please eat. Lu Jin said respectfully. Yan Chuan nodded. Although he had fasting pills to support him for 2 months, how could fasting pills compare to meat? Yan Chuan ate the meat while waiting for Huo Guang to reorganize the 1st Legion. At this moment, Mo Yushi also calmed down and walked out of the tent. She looked at Yan Chuan who was eating. Although her expression was normal, there was a complicated look in the depths of her eyes. Saintess, there are 8 entrances in the surroundings. Saintess and Prince Yen have already eliminated the incubus. Qing Long ran over and asked. Mo Yushi nodded. Then, which one should we enter? White Tiger asked. Mo Yushi walked in front of Yan Chuan. Prince Yen. Mo Yushi asked for help. Yan Chuan paused. It's already been 2 months. I don't mind waiting a little longer. Miss Mo, do you want to eat? We'll continue after eating. No need, we'll wait for Prince Yen. Mo Yushi shook her head. It was as if he was afraid to eat with Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was eating the meat of a Qijing peak monster. There was no restraint at all. He kept eating. Lu Jin, who was standing at the side, had an indifferent expression at the beginning. However, she gradually revealed a worried expression. This Lord, even Huo Guang, who is at LV9 of the Strength Realm, wouldn't dare to eat so much. Lu Jin said worriedly. It's all right. Yan Chuan shook his head. Waves of yuan qi spread out in Yan Chuan's abdomen. A large amount of profound qi flooded Yan Chuan's body. If it was someone else at LV7 of the Power Realm, they would have been bleeding from their 7 orifices. However, Yan Chuan's willpower was able to suppress the power of the primordial qi, extracting and absorbing it continuously. Ka 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 ka. Yan Chuan's body emitted a series of bone-cracking sounds. Boom! With a loud sound, Yan Chuan's body glowed with a golden light, and a gentle breeze radiated from Yan Chuan's body. Congratulations, Prince Yan, for reaching LV8 of the Strength Realm. Qing Long said in a strange tone. It was the first time that Qing Long saw someone breaking through while eating. What? You can break through while eating? Of course, even though they had never seen it happen, Qing Long and the others could understand. With such a strong willpower, breaking through while meditating was just icing on the cake. After the meat was gone, Yan Chuan exhaled a mouthful of foul air. He put down his chopsticks and looked at Huoguang, who was not far away. Lord, the First Legion has been reorganized. Huoguang said seriously. Good, let's get ready to go. Yan Chuan nodded. Yes. Prince Yan, which of the 8 exits should we go through? Qing Long asked. We don't need to go through the door. The nightmare is dead, and the cage is no longer protected by the dragon bloodline. We can just destroy it. Yan Chuan smiled. Huh? Qing Long was slightly surprised. Do it. Mo Yushi said. Yes. Qing Long nodded. Qing Long reached out his hand and hit a wall. Chapter 97. A cyan palm print blasted out with a loud bang. It slammed into the wall. Boom! There was a loud bang and the ground shook violently. At the place where the palm landed, rubble flew everywhere, and smoke and dust rose. Although it was hazy, they could vaguely see some flowers and trees. Did it really break? White Tiger was delighted. Boom! Boom! White Tiger also attacked in all directions. Waves of impact destroyed the surrounding walls. The roof above looked like it was about to fall, but it gradually disappeared halfway. All of the bricks in the hall had disappeared, as if they had never existed in the first place. Why is it gone? White Tiger was shocked. The feng shui array is illusory and real at the same time. When it's useful, it's real. When it's useless, it's fake. Yan Chuan explained. Feng shui is really strange. White Tiger shook his head. Everyone looked around. It was like a forest, but the forest was surrounded by fog. They could only see 100 feet away. They couldn't see anything further. Prince Yan, where is this? Mo Yushi asked. We're here. This is the deepest part of the feng shui array. It's a world that seems illusory. The 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus you mentioned should be sealed somewhere here. Just look for it. Yan Chuan said softly. Okay. Mo Yushi nodded softly. Qing Long and White Tiger looked at Mo Yushi strangely. The saint had never acted like a little girl before. Mo Yushi seemed to have noticed her abnormality. Her face suddenly turned serious. Qing Long, White Tiger, start searching around. Yes. In the foggy forest, Yan Chuan and the others were looking for the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus. Not far from them. In a valley shrouded in fog. Ah, snake, young Master Yang. Save me. A hoarse and unpleasant voice was heard. Boom. With a loud bang, 2 figures rushed out of the valley. The 2 figures landed on the mountain peak. It was Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu, who was blind in one eye. The 2 of them stood on the mountain and looked at the valley. The valley was like a swamp. Originally, it was covered by a large amount of wild grass. After Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu stirred it up, a large number of poisonous snakes suddenly swam out from the wild grass. Although the poisonous snake hadn't become a demonic beast, its colorful skin showed the intensity of its venom. Ding Wugu, it's just a bunch of poisonous snakes. What's wrong with you? You're even afraid of poisonous snakes? Yang Zigu frowned. Ding Wugu covered his blind eye that was oozing pus and said with grief and indignation, if it was before, I naturally wouldn't be afraid. But this eye of mine was blinded by Yan Chuan. We are feng shui masters, and our spiritual eyes are connected to the heart. It will take a long time for us to adapt to the blindness of one eye. Otherwise, why would I be trapped in these poisonous snakes? Oh. Blindness in one eye affects you that much? Yang Zigu asked in surprise. Ding Wugu gritted his teeth and said, Young Master Yang, I beg of you. I've already brought you to the deepest part of this place. With Mr. Monroe's ability, he will definitely be able to break the formation in the end. At that time, young Master Yang will obtain the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus and save the Saintess Yushi. That Yan Chuan will definitely come out. I only want to cut Yan Chuan into pieces to avenge my blind eye. Ding Wugu said hatefully. You want to kill Yan Chuan? Yang Zigu looked at Ding Wugu. Yes, I want Yan Chuan dead. I want all 3,000 of his soldiers dead. I want revenge. Ding Wugu said with a ferocious expression. Good. Yang Zigu said with an evil smile. He had been unhappy with Yan Chuan for a long time. Ding Wugu wanted to kill him, so naturally, he could do him a favor. Chapter 98. Xiao. A red light shot from afar. It landed in front of Yang Zigu. Rosefinch? You found the 10,000 Wonders bewitching lotus? Yang Zigu asked. No, not yet, but I sensed Big Brother. Qing Long and White Tiger are here too. The Saintess should be here too. Rosefinch said excitedly. Oh. Yang Zigu raised his eyebrows. Impossible. Aren't they in the cage? Ding Wugu shouted. It's true. The four of us have a secret technique that allows us to sense each other in short distance. Xuanwu should be looking for the Saintess. Rosefinch shook his head. We went through a lot of trouble and broke dozens of arrays to get here. Aren't Yan Chuan and the rest in the cage? Could it be that Yan Chuan lied to me again? He lied to me again. Bastard. Ding Wugu's eyes were ferocious. Yang Zigu's expression changed, so, Xuanwu went to find them? Yes, young Master Yang, let's meet up with the Saintess. Rosefinch said. Ding Wugu's expression flickered. He looked at the snake cave in the valley and squinted his eyes. No, let the Saintess and the rest come here. Ding Wugu said immediately. Huh? Rosefinch didn't understand. We agreed to wait here for Mr. Monroe. You know Mr. Monroe's ability. Maybe he already found some clues about the 10,000 Wonders bewitching lotus. It'll be bad if he can't find us. We'll wait here for Mr. Monroe. You lead the Saintess here. Ding Wugu explained. After saying that, Ding Wugu gave Yang Zhijiu a look. Yang Zigu understood and nodded, yes, we'll wait here. Seeing that Yang Zigu was insistent, Rosefinch could only agree, all right, young Master Yang, be careful. We'll come quickly. All right. Yang Zigu nodded. Swish. Rosefinch took a step and shot into the distance. When Rosefinch walked away, Ding Wugu immediately bowed to Yang Zigu. Young Master Yang, that Yan Chuan has definitely come out. I want all 3,000 of his soldiers to die from 10,000 snakes piercing their hearts. Ding Wugu pointed at the countless poisonous snakes in the valley and said with a sinister expression. 10,000 snakes piercing the heart. Yang Zigu's expression changed. They will die in this valley. There are hundreds of thousands of poisonous snakes in this valley. Young Master Yang is a Qi Jin expert. I would like to trouble young Master Yang to set up a Qi wall around the valley to isolate the poisonous snakes. Once I lure Yan Chuan's army into the Qi wall, I will break the Qi wall and trap them in the snake cave. 10,000 snakes will pierce through their hearts. Ding Wugu said with hatred, Yan Chuan was on a hill. Xuanwu and Rosefinch suddenly came in front of Mo Yushi. Xuanwu, Rosefinch, it really is you. Qinglong said with a smile. Saint, big brother, second brother. The two were also delighted. When did you get here? Mo Yushi asked anxiously. Just yesterday. We just entered this place. Mr. Monroe said that this should be the deepest part of the valley. The 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus should be here. Rosefinch immediately said. So, did you find the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus? Mo Yushi asked worriedly. Not yet. We were searching in different directions when we suddenly sensed Big Brother's presence and came here. Xuanwu said. That's good. Mo Yushi let out a long sigh. Young Master Yang is waiting for Mr. Monroe over there. He asked me to bring the saint to meet up with him. Rosefinch said. Meet up. That's good. Mo Yushi showed a trace of confidence. Since they did not find the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus, Mo Yushi still had a chance to obtain it. Prince Yen. Mo Yushi looked at Yen Chuan. That's good. Lead the way. Yen Chuan smiled. Chapter 99. Prince Yen, I will pave the way for you. Qinglong immediately shouted. Rosefinch and Xuanwu looked at each other, their eyes filled with curiosity. Both of them could feel the change in everyone's attitude towards Yen Chuan. The saintess was much friendlier to Yen Chuan, and Qinglong was extremely respectful to Yen Chuan. White Tiger saw that the two of them were puzzled and immediately shouted, Prince Yen saved Big Brother's life in the cage. You should be more polite to Prince Yen. Oh. The two of them looked serious. Then, they bowed respectfully to Yen Chuan. The four of them were as close as brothers. Although they did not know how Yen Chuan saved Qinglong, since White Tiger said so, it was a fact. The saving grace made the two of them feel grateful to Yen Chuan. Along the way, the army crossed mountains and rivers. With the four experts opening the way, the obstacles in the mountain path could be instantly removed, and the river could be instantly frozen. The army of 3,000 quickly arrived near Yangzigu. On the mountain peak, Yangzigu and Ding Wugu looked coldly at the approaching army. 3,000 soldiers, not a single one died. Ding Wugu said with a gloomy face. Indeed, not a single one died. Yangzigu raised his eyebrows. Young Master Yang can imagine, if not for Yen Chuan's deliberate design, why would we choose to enter the Yang Gate? Yen Chuan must have deliberately framed us. Otherwise, with so many mortals, how could nothing happen to them? Ding Wugu said with hatred. Indeed, after entering the Yang Gate, I almost lost my life once. Yangzigu said with a gloomy face. So, I ask young Master Yang to support me later. Ding Wugu said again. Okay. Yangzigu nodded. At this moment, Yen Chuan's army slowly approached them from afar. The army stopped, and Mo Yushi raised her head to look at Yangzigu and Ding Wugu. Yen Chuan. Ding Wugu suddenly shouted. Yen Chuan narrowed his eyes and looked at Ding Wugu. All the soldiers looked at Ding Wugu, their eyes filled with ruthlessness. It turns out to be Feng Shui Master Ding. What? Are you missing an eye? Do you need to stand so high to see me? Yen Chuan said coldly. As the primary soul of the First Legion, Yen Chuan had a grudge with Ding Wugu. Naturally, he would not be polite. A mere mortal dog blinded me and tricked me into entering the chaos array. It deserves to die. Ding Wugu said coldly. Ding Wugu. Mo Yushi's eyes widened. Qinglong and White Tiger both glared at Ding Wugu. Yushi, this is a personal grudge between Ding Wugu and Yen Chuan. You don't have to worry about it. Yangzigu said with a smile. Mortal dog? Ha! You're talking about yourself. Yen Chuan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Ding Wugu, are you crazy? Also, Yang Zigu, why are you shouting? Mo Yushi said unhappily. Yan Chuan, if you have the ability, don't hide behind a woman. I'll allow you to have an army of 3,000 to settle this grudge with me. How about it? Ding Wugu shouted again. Bastard! Mo Yushi glared. At this moment, Yan Chuan suddenly waved his hand and stopped Mo Yushi. Miss Mo, calm down. Yan Chuan said with a smile. After laughing, Yan Chuan turned to Ding Wugu and said, So, you want to challenge me? That's right. Do you have the guts? Ding Wugu said coldly. Ding Wugu, you're in the essence realm. How dare you challenge someone in the strength realm? Qing Long scolded. Humph. Ding Wugu snorted coldly. Mo Yushi naturally wanted to stop him. However, before she could say anything, Yan Chuan spoke first. Miss Mo, since Ding Wugu wants to challenge me, then please be my witness. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Chapter 100. You? Mo Yushi's expression became complicated. But when she thought of Yan Chuan's miraculous performance, her expression softened. Finally, she nodded and said, Since you want to, then fine. Xiao. On the mountain, Ding Wugu and Yang Zhijiu quickly descended the mountain and approached. Yushi, they have a personal grudge. You and I shouldn't interfere. Yang Zigu smiled and walked over. Yes, Saintess. Although I am in the essence realm, Yan Chuan also has 3,000 soldiers. Let's have a fair fight. No one should interfere. Ding Wugu said. Looking at Ding Wugu, Mo Yushi sneered. Fine, I won't interfere. No one is allowed to interfere. Mo Yushi said. Yes, no one is allowed to interfere. Yang Zigu thought that Mo Yushi was giving him face and laughed. Prince Yan, be careful. Mo Yushi said to Yan Chuan worriedly. Yan Chuan nodded. Yang Zigu saw Mo Yushi's expression and frowned. But soon, he relaxed. He thought that he was overthinking. Yan Chuan, come. Let's go to the open area. Ding Wugu pointed at the valley and quickly walked over. Soon, he stopped in the middle of the valley. Yan Chuan smiled faintly and walked over. The 3,000 soldiers followed closely behind. However, after walking for a while, Yan Chuan's footsteps suddenly came to a halt. Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu's eyes narrowed. Yan Chuan happened to step on the edge of the ground. He found out. Yang Zigu muttered. What did he find out? Mo Yushi asked. No, nothing. Yang Zigu immediately denied. With Yan Chuan's past experience, how could he not feel that the soil on the ground was unusual? However, Yan Chuan did not say it out loud. Instead, he squatted down and tightened his shoelaces. Phew! Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu both let out a sigh of relief. Ferocious tiger army formation. Yan Chuan shouted. Roar! The 3,000 soldiers roared in unison. Immediately, they assumed the military formation posture that they had rehearsed a few days ago. Mortal dogs are mortal dogs. No matter how many there are, they are still trash. Ding Wugu sneered. As he spoke, Ding Wugu once again took out a small black ball from his sleeve. He threw it with all his might. Pang! The small ball exploded, instantly forming billowing black gas that enveloped Ding Wugu. He, look, how many of you will die this time? Ding Wugu laughed evilly. Just like several months ago, Ding Wugu used the same move. With a wave of his hand, 100 streaks of poison gas shot towards the 3,000 soldiers. In the past, it was this move that had killed Yan Chuan's generals. Tigers roar in the forest. Yan Chuan shouted. The military formation changed. The 3,000 soldiers immediately activated their blood and qi. Red light gushed out from their bodies. The light broke free from the military formation and instantly condensed into the shape of a blood-red tiger. Roar! 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 The 3,000 soldiers roared in unison. The blood-red tiger suddenly opened its mouth and roared at the 100 streaks of black gas. Roar! The blood-red tiger roared. Instantly, it formed a shockwave that went straight for the 100 streaks of poison gas. Pang! The 100 streaks of poison gas were knocked back and rushed towards Ding Wugu. Rumble! Ding Wugu's surroundings seemed to be blown by a strong wind. The black gas that protected Ding Wugu shook violently. Although Ding Wugu was unharmed, his eyes were filled with surprise. The power of the Essence Realm? Ding Wugu said in surprise. A Strength Realm mortal can also activate the power of the Essence Realm when setting up a military formation? Tigers roar in the forest? Yang Zigu raised his eyebrows. Good. Qing Long laughed excitedly. Mo Yushi also secretly sighed. Her eyes revealed a trace of relief. Fierce tiger descends the mountain. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers roared excitedly. The mysterious power of the Essence Realm. The 3,000 soldiers never thought that their military formation would be able to activate the power of the Essence Realm. At this moment, they admired Yan Chuan even more. They also paid more attention to the fierce tiger army formation that they had practiced for the past 2 months. According to the military formation, the 3,000 soldiers slowly walked towards the valley. The blood-red tiger image of the soldiers enveloped the 3,000 soldiers and also approached the valley step by step. Fierce tiger descends the mountain, tiger's ferocious might. Chapter 101. Tiger descends the mountain. Ferocious tiger. As the 3,000-strong army stepped forward, the ferocious tiger condensed from blood also stepped forward slowly, staring fiercely at Ding Wugu. The power of the military formation can actually produce such an effect. Looks like we don't have to worry about Prince Yan's safety. Qing Long exhaled deeply. Yang Zigu listened to Qing Long's words and frowned slightly. After all, Ding Wugu was also in the Essence Realm. If the 3,000-strong army could produce the power of the Essence Realm, Ding Wugu might not be able to win. Yang Zigu wasn't too worried. After all, Ding Wugu still had his own backup plan. Snake Cave. A huge snake cave. At this moment, the 3,000-strong army slowly stepped into the snake cave that was covered by grass and air walls. Ding Wugu, Yan Chuan, and the 3,000-strong army all stood on top of the snake cave, as if they didn't feel anything. They were still opposing each other. Ordinary dogs can also set up a formation. Amazing, but you will still die. Ding Wugu laughed sinisterly. Vicious and vicious, you are also a kind of talent, but unfortunately, you killed my soldiers. This enmity is set. I have no reason to spare you. Yan Chuan said indifferently. Spare me? Your broken formation, once I charge in, it will scatter, with just them. Ordinary dogs are ordinary dogs, you can't hurt a single hair of mine. Ding Wugu said disdainfully. A single hair? Weren't your eyes blinded? Yan Chuan laughed. Ding Wugu snorted in anger. While snorting, Ding Wugu took out another black ball. He chanted a strange incantation, and the black ball in his hands suddenly trembled. Ding Wugu's eyes focused, and he pushed the black ball. Bang! The black ball suddenly exploded, and turned into a black fog with a diameter of 30 feet. In the black fog, there seemed to be countless skulls, churning non-stop. The skulls flashed with a faint green light, and the countless skulls let out ghostly wails and howls. Ahahaha! Woo 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 woo! Keek keek! 10,000 ghosts, heed my command. Eat, eat, eat! Ding Wugu formed a seal in his hand, controlling the black fog of 10,000 ghosts. The black fog of 10,000 ghosts descended from the sky and pounced on the army of 3,000. Boom! The black fog of 10,000 ghosts collided with the blood fiend tiger. The blood fiend was like a great tonic. Amidst the black fog of ghosts, the skulls excitedly gnawed on it. Ahahaha! Tens of thousands of ghosts faced him head-on, gnawing at the ferocious tiger. The scene was oppressive, as if they would bite him in the next moment. If they had not followed Yan Chuan for a period of time, the 3,000 soldiers would have been scared silly. But even though they had seen so much, there were still several dozen people who were terrified. The moment they felt fear, the ferocious tiger army formation had a flaw. What's there to fear from a mere evil spirit? Change formation, tiger body jolt. Yan Chuan shouted. Yan Chuan's voice was filled with a sense of inviolability. When they heard it, they immediately felt a sense of determination. The previously fearful soldiers immediately calmed down. Moving quickly, the military formation changed. Blood chi poured into the spear and pierced it into the sky. Roar! The 3,000 soldiers roared, and it was like the roar of the blood fiend tiger. As the blood fiend tiger roared, its body shook violently. Instantly, some of the black fog around it was scattered. The thousands of skulls that were staring at the tiger and gnawing on its blood chi were also shaken and scattered in all directions. Boom! The black fog of 10,000 ghosts was forced back. The military formation once again blocked the attack. The confidence of the 3,000 soldiers instantly increased. The cultivation of the 3,000 soldiers could not compare to the Essence Realm Xiuzha, but they may have killed more people than the Essence Realm Xiuzha. When the blood fiend was activated, the ferocious tiger became even more bloodthirsty. Chapter 102. The tiger stared at the skulls around it. Its eyes were filled with viciousness. In ghost fog. The lowest level magical item in feng shui. It is indeed worthy of the worst feng shui master. Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Who do you think is the worst feng shui master? Ding Wugu was already furious when he saw that the black fog did not work. After being mocked by Yan Chuan, he became even more furious. Even mortals can't do anything. Who do you think is the worst feng shui master? Yan Chuan continued to provoke him. You. A feng shui master like you is a disgrace to all feng shui masters. I think you should tie your hands and beg for death. Bastard! Ding Wugu charged over angrily. Seeing that Ding Wugu had lost his mind, Yan Chuan's eyes became brighter. This was the effect he wanted. Once he lost his mind, it was easy to make mistakes. Ding Wugu charged over. As his hand seals changed, the black fog suddenly surrounded Ding Wugu and enveloped him. Man and fog as one. When the man and fog became one, the black fog suddenly expanded by more than 3 times. Yan Chuan, die! Ding Wugu's angry roar came from the black fog. Suddenly, a ghastly white skeletal claw with a diameter of 10 feet shot out from the black fog and clawed at Yan Chuan. The skeleton claw was surrounded by a large number of skulls. Ghost energy filled the sky and it was very powerful. Tiger Chi gathering. Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers shouted. Their bodies moved slightly, and with the help of the military formation, they poured their blood energy into Yan Chuan. From the outside, it looked like a huge blood tiger had suddenly charged into Yan Chuan's body. Heavenly Dragon Force. Yan Chuan punched out. Roar! The blood energy of the 3,000 soldiers, under the guidance of Yan Chuan's fist intent, turned into a bloody fist that was 6 meters long and fiercely smashed at the skeleton claw. Hong! The claw and fist collided. The huge impact scattered Ding Wugu's black fog. Dong 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 dong. A series of footsteps could be heard. When the black fog dispersed, Ding Wugu's figure was forced to retreat uncontrollably. Boom! Ding Wugu steadied himself after he was nearly 20 feet away. However, at this moment, Ding Wugu's mouth was overflowing with blood and his clothes were torn. He looked at Yan Chuan's group in disbelief. Yan Chuan's face was slightly pale, but the fighting spirit in his eyes was even stronger. The sleeve of his right arm, which he had used to punch, had been completely shattered, revealing his powerful arm. Not far away, Yang Zigu looked at this scene in shock. Impossible. Yan Chuan is only in the strength state. How could he defeat Ding Wugu? Yang Zigu's eyes widened in disbelief. Prince Yan borrowed the power of the 3,000 soldiers' blood and qi. That punch already has the power of the essence realm. Qing Long said excitedly. Military formation. Formations can actually be used like this. Mo Yushi said thoughtfully. Prince Yan will definitely win. White Tiger said excitedly. Not necessarily. Yang Zigu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. On the other side, Ding Wugu stood up slowly and wiped the corner of his mouth gently. He said with a vicious face, "That's all you got? Ha, stop pretending. My punch will definitely hurt your internal organs. If you continue to pretend, you will only get more hurt." Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Puff. Ding Wugu could no longer hold back and spat out a mouthful of black blood. After spitting out the black blood, Ding Wugu's face turned pale and his body went limp. You're only in the strength state. How can you? Ding Wugu said unwillingly. You don't need to know. You shouldn't have provoked me. Chapter 103. Archers. Yan Chuan shouted. Bang! 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 The soldiers quickly drew their bows and aimed at the heavily injured Ding Wugu. Gaga. Ding Wugu spat out black blood as he laughed viciously. Provoke you? I killed 2 of your subordinates, so what? They are just ordinary dogs. If I want to kill them, I will kill them. To die by my hands is your honor. You think you have won? Today, none of you will live. Receive my gift. Ding Wugu said hatefully. Fire. Pang. Ding Wugu smashed another black ball. Large amounts of black gas surrounded Ding Wugu. Xiao. 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 The rain of arrows was like that day. They once again smashed into the black gas surrounding Ding Wugu, causing the black gas to tremble. But they were unable to harm Ding Wugu. Within the black gas, Ding Wugu had a cold smile in his eyes. He smashed his palm against the ground. Boom! The sound of ice shattering could be heard. The ground of the battlefield suddenly shook. Ding Wugu forced himself to endure. He stepped forward, wanting to flee. The 3,000 soldiers felt the ground beneath their feet shake. They immediately wanted to investigate. Don't worry about that. Fire! Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers replied. Xiao! 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 Another rain of arrows flew forward. Although the heavily injured Ding Wugu was protected by the black gas, the impact of the rain of arrows still caused Ding Wugu to shift his position. He crashed into a large rock. HM. Ding Wugu's face changed. Continue to fire. Yan Chuan shouted again. Xiao! Xiao! The rain of arrows did not stop. They viciously smashed into the black gas surrounding Ding Wugu. Like nails, they nailed Ding Wugu to the large rock. Stop! Ding Wugu shouted. But why would Yan Chuan listen to him? Pang! 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 On the ground, a large number of poisonous snakes suddenly appeared. The poisonous snakes were of different colors and were extremely bright. Clearly, their venom was extremely strong. Snake! Snake! Some soldiers were shocked. Continue to fire. Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. The soldiers shot arrows again. One arrow after another crashed into the black fog, preventing Ding Wugu from moving. No, stop. Jiaohu Ding Wugu said. Because at this moment, there were already over 1,000 snakes surrounding Ding Wugu. Although some were buried under the rain of arrows, there were still a large number of poisonous snakes slithering towards Ding Wugu through the rain of arrows. Hiss. All around were the hissing noises of poisonous snakes, the gloomy and cold penetrated the black gas, pressing towards Ding Wugu. Impossible, why don't you have any snakes? Ding Wugu looked in disbelief at the feet of Yan Chuan and the 3,000 soldiers. Logically speaking, Yan Chuan and the 3,000 soldiers were also standing in the vicinity of the snake cave. After Ding Wugu broke the qi wall on the ground, the venomous snakes should be everywhere. But now, there were more and more venomous snakes around Ding Wugu, while Yan Chuan did not have a single venomous snake. This isn't right, this isn't right. Yang Zigu exclaimed in surprise. Yang Zigu naturally knew about the qi wall set up by Yang Zigu, but where were the snakes? Where were the venomous snakes under Yan Chuan's feet? Snakes? Ha! Yan Chuan laughed disdainfully. Yan Chuan's cultivation technique, Heavenly Dragon Power, was created in his previous life, so it naturally contained the might of the Heavenly Dragon. When snakes sensed the Snake King, they would flee in fear, not to mention the might of the Heavenly Dragon. When Yan Chuan discovered the abnormality under his feet, he released his dragon might. Once the dragon might was released, the venomous snakes under the qi wall all fled, chasing towards Ding Wugu. Therefore, Yan Chuan did not have a single venomous snake around him, while Ding Wugu faced even more venomous snakes than before. Hiss! A small green snake suddenly broke through the black gas and coiled around Ding Wugu's arm. Ka! The snake bit down. Ah! Ding Wugu screamed. Chapter 104. Ah! Ding Wugu screamed. Bang! The green snake was shattered by Ding Wugu. However, the snake venom entered his body. Ding Wugu controlled the black gas around his body to block the rain of arrows, so he was unable to force out the snake venom with his full strength. Coupled with the fact that he was injured, Ding Wugu's face turned green in an instant. Shoot! Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. The group of soldiers replied. It was Ding Wugu who had wantonly killed his brothers. Now, he could finally take revenge. The soldiers were filled with hatred as they drew their bows and arrows to the maximum. He showed no mercy. They kept shooting. Yan Chuan didn't do it himself. At this moment, the opportunity to kill Ding Wugu was given to his subordinates. Although the compromise with Ding Wugu that day had basically faded in the hearts of the soldiers, there was still a trace of shadow. As a commander-in-chief, he had to give his soldiers absolute strength and confidence. Not a single shadow could be left behind. Otherwise, it would become a huge problem in the future. Yan Chuan was instilling in the hearts of the soldiers that as long as they followed him, they would not suffer any grievances. Shooting down the enemy was a way for the soldiers to vent their frustrations. After venting their frustrations, they would become even more loyal. Whoosh! Whoosh! There were too many snakes and too little meat. Even though a large number of arrows slid past, the venomous snakes continued to advance. In the blink of an eye, Ding Wugu was surrounded by thousands of poisonous snakes. Ka! 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 One by one, the poisonous snakes broke through the black gas and bit Ding Wugu's body. Ah! Ding Wugu screamed. Young Master Yang, save me! Ding Wugu shouted. In the distance, Yang Zigu's expression changed, and he was about to rush over. Who? Mo Yushi suddenly blocked in front of Yang Zigu. Didn't you say it already? This is their personal grudge. It's best that we don't interfere. Mo Yushi smiled. Ding Wugu fell for Yan Chuan's evil scheme. He's going to die. Yang Zigu said anxiously. What evil scheme? His skills were inferior, so he was just courting death. Qing Long said disdainfully from the side. Saintess, save me, I'm here to help you, Saintess. Ding Wugu called out to Mo Yushi. Help me? Before coming here, I took good care of you, but are you really helping me? Mo Yushi said coldly. Ding Wugu's face gradually darkened. No, you can't kill me. Mohina Dojin sent me to help you. If I die, you won't be able to answer to Mohina Dojin. Ding Wugu shouted. Mohina Dojin? There's no need for you to worry about it. You invited me to witness your life and death battle. If you go back on your words, I won't be like you. Mo Yushi said in a low voice. Ding Wugu, who do you think you are? You're just a half-baked feng shui master, how dare you threaten the saintess? Qing Long scolded. Young Master Yang, save me, I can help you, I can help you. Ding Wugu shouted at Yang Zigu. Yushi. Yang Zigu looked at Mo Yushi awkwardly. Yang Zigu, you're Mohina Dojin's son. When you're outside, you represent Mohina Dojin. You won't go back on your words and make Mohina Dojin lose trust in the world, right? Mo Yushi stared at Yang Zigu. Yang Zigu frowned and stared at Mo Yushi for a while. Finally, his brows relaxed and his expression became cheerful. How could I? Ding Wugu asked for it. He can't blame anyone. Mo Yushi nodded in satisfaction. In the distance, Ding Wugu was instantly betrayed by everyone and showed a look of despair. No, it shouldn't be like this, no. Ding Wugu spat out poisonous blood and screamed at the top of his lungs. Chapter 105. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white light came from afar and flew into the valley. The white light was confused. While he was confused, the white light shot towards Ding Wugu. Mr. Monroe, save me, save me. Ding Wugu shouted in joy. Qing Long. Mo Yushi shouted. Whoosh! The azure dragon instantly soared into the sky, blocking the white light in the blink of an eye. The white light stopped. It was Mr. Wenrua in white. Qing Long, what are you doing? Why are you not helping? Mr. Monroe frowned. Mr. Monroe, I respect you, but please don't interfere. Qing Long shook his head. Mr. Monroe, save me, save me. Ding Wugu shouted weakly. Mr. Monroe frowned and looked in Mo Yushi's direction. Mr. Monroe, please don't interfere. Mo Yushi shook her head. Saintess, please don't. I have found the Million Wonders demonic lotus, but I can't get it. We need a feng shui master. Mr. Monroe shook his head. You found the Million Wonders demonic lotus? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Yes, it's over there. I can see it, but there's a big shield outside and I can't get in. A feng shui master should have a way. Please let Ding Wugu go for now. Mr. Monroe said anxiously. Yes, save me, I can help you get the Million Wonders demonic lotus. Ding Wugu said anxiously as if he had found a life-saving straw. Whoosh! At this moment, a golden arrow suddenly pierced through the black chi and instantly shot into Ding Wugu's chest. Beep! The arrow pierced through his heart and the tail of the arrow shook violently. Ding Wugu's eyes widened. Bang! The black smoke around him dissipated. Hiss! A large number of poisonous snakes wrapped around Ding Wugu. Ding Wugu followed the direction of the arrow and looked into the distance. You! Ding Wugu pointed unwillingly at the archer in the distance. In the distance, the one shooting the arrow was Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan drew his bow and stood there coldly. An arrow pierced through his heart. Originally, Yan Chuan wanted the soldiers to shoot Ding Wugu slowly. However, when he saw Mr. Monroe arrive, he knew that if he delayed any longer, Ding Wugu might not die. He had no choice but to act. Today, in order to establish his might, in order to receive loyalty, and even more in order to resolve a death grudge, Ding Wugu must die. He infused the heavenly dragon's power into the arrow and killed it with a single arrow. You! Yan Chuan! Mr. Monroe's expression changed. Anger flashed in his eyes. Yan Chuan returned the longbow to Huo Guang and raised his head. Most feng shui arrays contain a heavenly lake. As you said, the myriad profundity lotus must be sealed there. It's just a heavenly lake. There's no need for Ding Wugu. I can take you there. You? In the distance, Yang Zhijiu said unhappily. Why? You don't believe me? Yan Chuan smiled. I believe you. Mo Yushi immediately shouted. When she looked at Yan Chuan again, Mo Yushi's eyes suddenly had a sense of trust. An inexplicable sense of trust. Mo Yushi also had a feeling that Yan Chuan would definitely help her. Mr. Monroe looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. Then, he looked at Ding Wugu's corpse, which was being eaten by thousands of snakes. In the end, he could only nod and sigh. Then I'll have to trouble Prince Yan. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Since I'm your guide, it's my duty. If I've offended you, please forgive me, Mr. Monroe. Yan Chuan nodded. You didn't offend me. As long as we get the myriad profundity lotus, nothing else matters. Mr. Monroe said. I'll do my best. Yan Chuan nodded. The 3,000 soldiers watched as Ding Wugu was eaten by the snakes. They all let out a long sigh and turned to look at Yan Chuan. Their eyes flashed with determination. Ding Wugu was killed. Under Mr. Monroe's lead, the army marched in a certain direction. Yan Chuan stood on Mr. Monroe's small boat, which floated forward in the air. Huo Guang's army followed below. We've already found the myriad profundity lotus. Why are we still carrying 3,000 burdens? Our speed has been seriously slowed down. Yang Zigu questioned. Prince Yan, why don't you let Qing Long stay behind to protect your 3,000 soldiers while we go and get the myriad profundity lotus? Mo Yushi also advised. Shaking his head, Yan Chuan smiled and said, no need. I can protect them. You? Just you? Yang Zigu smiled disdainfully. Just me. Yan Chuan said in a tone that was neither humble nor arrogant. All right. Mo Yushi nodded and didn't insist. Mr. Monroe kept sizing up Yan Chuan. However, Mr. Monroe, who had always been insightful, felt that he couldn't see through Yan Chuan. Saint, what have you encountered these days? How did you get out of the cage? Mr. Monroe asked curiously. We've already gotten out. Let's not talk about the cage. Mo Yushi shook her head. Seeing that Mo Yushi didn't want to talk about it, Mr. Monroe knew better than to ask any more questions. Mr. Monroe, when you found the heavenly lake earlier, were there other people around? Yan Chuan asked. Yes. Maybe we really did enter too late. When I rushed past the heavenly lake, I saw at least 10 people from different sects. Mr. Monroe said. There's already so many people. Then we'd better hurry. Yang Zigu said anxiously. Mr. Monroe shook his head and said, don't worry, Mr. Yang. The shield outside the heavenly lake is not that easy to break. I can't even shake it with my full strength. I'm curious. How powerful is Mr. Monroe's full strength attack? Yan Chuan asked. I'm at the immortal state. Mr. Monroe didn't hide anything. Cultivating qi into spirit. Immortal state. Yan Chuan thought for a while. This feng shui formation has a very strange history. It has existed for at least thousands of years. I don't know how the rules were set. No one above the virtual realm is allowed to enter. Only immortal state cultivators can enter. Those who dare to go beyond the rules will be punished by the world. Yushi explained. Those who dare to go beyond the rules will be punished by the world. Only those below the immortal state are allowed to enter. Why is there such a strange rule? Yan Chuan was puzzled. I'm not sure. Anyway, all the powerful sects have this rule. Our Dajiao's sacred ground is the same. Otherwise, Mohina Dojin would have come here himself. Yushi shook her head. I heard from Miss Mo that Mr. Monroe is a celestial being. Do you know about this? Yan Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe shook his head and smiled bitterly. I swore not to reveal anything. Please forgive me. If that's the case, then forget it. Yan Chuan nodded. Mr. Monroe, you know about this? Yushi was surprised. Not only do I know about it, but Mohina Dojin also knows about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to get the Demon Lotus of Wonders. It's just that. Mr. Monroe sighed. Yushi wanted to ask more questions. We're here. Mr. Monroe suddenly shouted. Everyone immediately turned their heads and looked forward. The 3,000 soldiers also stopped when the boat stopped. Chapter 106. We're here. Mr. Monroe suddenly shouted. Everyone immediately turned their heads and looked forward. As soon as the small boat stopped, the 3,000 soldiers also stopped abruptly. In front of him, there seemed to be a yellow gas wall. However, if he looked carefully, he would find that this gas wall was curved. It was a vast cylindrical yellow gas wall. Inside the chi wall, the top was yellow with a golden light, while the bottom was yellow with a black chi. The black gas was wreaking havoc in the yellow light. One could vaguely see a black-purple lotus with a pitch-black root 1,000 feet away. He seemed to be floating in the air. This is yellow light. It can't all be dragon vein energy, right? Qing Long said in astonishment. It's the dragon vein energy. Yushi confirmed. Isn't this too exaggerated? I've never seen so much dragon vein energy in my entire life. How many are there? The white tiger said in astonishment. What a huge feng shui formation. What a heavy evil qi. Yan Chuan exclaimed. Evil qi. Qing Long looked at Yan Chuan. The entire feng shui formation is for this demonic lotus, right? But even with such a huge amount of power from the dragon veins, it can't be completely destroyed. Evil energy wreaks havoc. The myriad wonders demonic lotus is indeed extraordinary. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Does Prince Yan have a way to break it? Mr. Monroe asked. This small world is shrouded in thick fog. We can't see clearly from above. Let's go up and take a look. Yan Chuan said. Okay. Mr. Monroe nodded. The small boat carried everyone along the yellow wall and slowly floated up. It floated higher and higher. 2,000 feet. Qing Long said. Stop. Yan Chuan suddenly shouted. When the boat stopped, everyone raised their heads. The fog above them was getting thinner and thinner, and they could already see a little more clearly. This is a feng shui formation. How can you see the stars? Qing Long asked in surprise. We can't go any higher. If we go any higher, we'll be out of the feng shui formation. This leads to the outside world. Yan Chuan shouted. But I didn't see this entrance when I was in the outside world a few months ago. Yushi said doubtfully. This exit can only be used to exit, not enter. Once you exit, you won't be able to find your way back. Yan Chuan shook his head. Mr. Monroe nodded. That's right. I released a Dharma artifact earlier. Once I left, I couldn't take it back. I originally thought that this was a hemispherical closed cover. I didn't expect it to be a cylindrical open cover. Yan Chuan frowned as he pondered. What's wrong, Yan Chuan? You said earlier that you could crack it. Why can't you do it now? You killed Ding Wugu. If you can't obtain the myriad-wondered demonic lotus, you have to take full responsibility. Yang Zigu was still brooding over it. Yan Chuan ignored Yang Zigu and stared at the sky. Vaguely, Yan Chuan seemed to see a green pillar. It was very faint, so faint that he almost couldn't see it. The pillar was connected to the heavenly lake, and the other end was connected to the stars in the distance. What's that? Yan Chuan's eyes widened. Huh? Mr. Monroe's expression changed drastically as well. What's wrong? Yang Zigu was puzzled. That pillar. Is it the power of the stars? Mr. Monroe looked at Yan Chuan as if he was asking for confirmation. Absorbing the power of the stars? What a powerful feng shui formation. Who set it up? It absorbed the power of the 9 heavenly stars to destroy the myriad-wondered demonic lotus? Yan Chuan's expression changed slightly. Absorbed the power of the 9 heavenly stars. Mou, she said in surprise. The person who set up the formation is called Master Damiao. Mr. Monroe thought for a moment and said. Master Damiao? Yan Chuan said in surprise. He's not a Master Damiao. He should be a Master Damiao. According to the ancient records, he was at the pinnacle of the virtual realm. He only needed to go through the tribulation to become a Master Damiao. However, in the end, he died for unknown reasons and left behind this formation. Mr. Monroe thought for a moment and said. Chapter 107. Did the book mention how to break it? Yang Zigu asked. No. It's just a passing note. Mr. Monroe shook his head. Prince Yan, do you have any ideas? Mr. Monroe asked. Yan Chuan stared at the sky and looked at the stars. The power of the stars comes from the army destroyer? Yan Chuan asked seriously. Mr. Monroe looked up at the sky and nodded. That's right. This array is indeed extracting the power of the stars from the army destroyer. Look at the stars around the army destroyer. Could it be that the army destroyer was among the 9 stars a few months ago? Yan Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe. You don't know? Mr. Monroe asked curiously. I was asleep that day. Which 9 stars were it? It's the Big Dipper. Tanlang, Juman, Wuxiu, Army Destroyer, Wenxiu, Lusen, Lianjin, Suofu, and Yubi. Mr. Monroe said. The Big Dipper. How can the 9 stars be connected in a line? Yan Chuan asked in surprise. That's why it's said to be a rare occurrence. No, there have been a lot of Big Dipper events since ancient times, but this is the first time the Big Dipper has been connected in a line. Mr. Monroe thought about it and said. Let's go down first. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said. Okay. Mr. Monroe nodded. The boat slowly sank down. Prince Yan, do you have a way to break this wall? Mou, she asked anxiously. It's not difficult to break the wall of the Sky Lake. The main thing is, are you sure you can get the Demon Lotus? Yan Chuan smiled. Mou, she's expression changed. She immediately understood and a hint of gratitude flashed in her eyes. Then we'll have to trouble Prince Yan. Mou, she took a deep breath and said. I will do my best. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Chuan, how do we break through this heavenly pool wall? Yang Zigu asked bluntly. We still need to wait for about half a month. Yan Chuan shook his head. With that, Yan Chuan got off the boat and looked at the 3,000 silver armors. Huo Guang, let's set up camp and rest. Yan Chuan ordered. Understood. Huo Guang replied. Huo Guang left to command the army. However, Yan Chuan looked at Mo Yushi and said, Miss Mo, can you let Qing Long, White Tiger, and the others go around the heavenly pool wall and patrol around to see how many experts there are? Did you hear what Prince Yan said? Mo Yushi ordered. Yes, we'll go now. Qing Long, Rosefinch, White Tiger, and Xuanwu immediately flew out. Prince Yan wants to unite the experts and attack the heavenly pool wall together? Mr. Monroe asked. That's right. There's no other way. Yan Chuan nodded. What kind of bullshit method is that? Do you even need to think about it? Isn't it just a group attack if one person can't break it? Yang Zigu suddenly shouted. Yang Zigu! Mo Yushi shouted in disgust. When Yang Zigu saw that Mo Yushi was angry, he immediately stopped scolding Yan Chuan. It's not that simple. I just checked. This array is connected to the stars. The walls are not only strengthened by the dragon energy, but also by the power of the stars. Even an emptiness realm expert might not be able to break it. We have to wait until the middle of the month, when the array is at its weakest. Then, we can attack the 8 fatal points of the heavenly pool wall at the same time to break it. Yan Chuan said seriously. Why do we have to wait until the middle of the month? How do you know which 8 fatal points are? Yang Zigu asked in disbelief. The middle of the month, the night of the full moon, is the time when the yin qi is at its strongest. The power of the dragon veins will weaken temporarily. As for the 8 fatal points, have you forgotten how we came in? Yan Chuan smiled. 8 fatal underworld? Mo Yushi's eyes lit up. Chapter 108. That's right. These are the 8 directions. Yan Chuan nodded. Prince Yan really knows a lot about feng shui. Mr. Monroe exclaimed. A close relative of mine once studied feng shui. I only heard a little about it. Yan Chuan sighed. The feng shui master's wife in his previous life, Zhenro. Yan Chuan's face darkened when he thought of Zhenro. So it's Yan Tao. I didn't expect this. Mr. Monroe exclaimed. He thought it was Yan Chuan's father. Yan Chuan shook his head and smiled without saying anything. Miss Mo, the lotus of 10,000 wonders is extremely evil. It shouldn't be touched. Yan Chuan frowned. Mohina Dojin lent me this 8 treasure divine box before I came. I'll just use it to store it. Mo Yushi took out a purple jade box. Will this work? Yan Chuan looked at the purple jade box worriedly. What do you know? This is my father's treasure, the 8 treasure divine box. It's a 9th grade magical artifact. Yang Zigu was unhappy. A 9th grade magical artifact. That's great. Yan Chuan nodded. There's still half a month left. Let's think about how to get the lotus of 10,000 wonders. Yan Chuan said again. Okay. Everyone nodded. On the other side, the military tent was quickly set up. Yan Chuan excused himself and left the group, heading towards the military tent. Huo Guang, come in. Lu Jin, guard outside. Don't let anyone in. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Lu Jin replied. Yan Chuan sat at the head of the tent. Huo Guang stood respectfully in front of Yan Chuan. Huo Guang, how long have you been following me? Yan Chuan asked in a deep voice. 7 years and 5 months. Huo Guang replied respectfully. It's been 7 years and 5 months. What are your ambitions? Yan Chuan asked. Ambition? Huo Guang was slightly puzzled, but after thinking about it, he still said respectfully, Huo Guang's previous ambition was to reorganize the Huo family and restore the title of War God Marquis to its former glory. To comfort the spirits of our ancestors in heaven. But now, my ambitions have changed. I hope to follow in the footsteps of the Lord and step into the world of cultivation. Even if I can't live forever, I won't regret it for the rest of my life. War God Marquis. Ha, you have the potential to be a fierce general, and you have the opportunity. Even in the cultivation world, you can use the name of War God Marquis to intimidate thousands of immortal sects. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Yes, sir. Huo Guang said longingly. Do you know how to enter the essence state? Yan Chuan asked. Huo Guang thought for a while and said, I've heard that people in the fourth state cultivate their inner strength. But no matter how much or how strong their inner strength is, it will slowly dissipate as they age. However, the essence state is different. Practitioners in the essence state open up their acupoints and gather their inner strength into their essence state. The essence state is stored in their acupoints and explodes with endless power. The essence state can nourish the body and soul, and increase one's lifespan. Yan Chuan continued to listen. There's a gap between the fourth state and the essence state. Those who have achieved the completion state of the fourth state need to find a way to trigger the heavenly tribulation and summon the heavenly tribulation. They can use the heavenly tribulation to open up their acupoints and enter the essence state. Huo Guang said seriously. That's right. Do you want to break through? Yan Chuan asked with a smile. Yes, but I'm only at LV9 of the fourth state. I haven't achieved the completion state of the fourth state, let alone the heavenly tribulation. Huo Guang looked at Yan Chuan with a bitter smile. Don't worry. With me, Mr. Monroe, and Miss Mo, it won't be difficult for you to achieve the completion state of the fourth state in half a month. As for the heavenly tribulation, it'll be even easier. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Thank you, Lord. Huo Guang felt his heart pounding. The essence state. A few months ago, Huo Guang didn't even dare to think about it. But now, it was right in front of him. He could take it freely. This isn't the key to calling you in. The key is the star force will. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said. The star force will. Those who have achieved the spirit refinement will find their own natal star. Once they inherit the natal star force will, they can even mobilize the star force for their own use and strengthen themselves, Yan Chuan said. Natal star. Mobilize the star force. Huo Guang opened his mouth in shock. That's right. Take Mohina Dojin as an example. Although I've never met him, I know from his name that he must be extremely arrogant. He uses the sun as his natal star to mobilize the sun force. Yan Chuan said after thinking for a while. Natal star. The sun. Huo Guang was shocked. Normally, people will only find their own natal star after reaching the emptiness realm. They will form a connection with the natal star and inherit the star force will to strengthen themselves. If you can achieve the spirit refinement, you can also find your own natal star. There are countless stars in the sky. There will be a suitable one for you. Yan Chuan said. Huo Guang looked forward to it, but he also knew that Yan Chuan must have something else to say. However, there is a chance for you to inherit the star force will in the essence state. Are you willing? Yan Chuan asked. Now? Yes, the Alcade star. I can let you inherit it quickly. If you inherit it now, you will be many years ahead of others. However, once you inherit the star force will, you will not have the chance to inherit the star force will in the future. Yan Chuan said after thinking for a while. Huo Guang looked at Yan Chuan, took a deep breath and said, without the Lord, I would not be where I am today. Everything will be decided by the Lord. Good, the Alcade star force will kill. You can only become stronger through killing. If you continue to be a general, you will become stronger as you fight. When you completely inherit the star force will, you will be the Marquis of the God of War. Yan Chuan said satisfactorily. Huo Guang will follow the Lord until death. Huo Guang knelt down on one knee and solemnly swore. Chapter 109. Yan Wudian the Central Tent. Yan Chuan summoned Mr. Monroe, Mo Yushi, and Yang Zigu. Huo Guang stood aside. What? Do you have a way to get the 10,000 Wonders Lotus? Yang Zigu asked bluntly. Yan Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe and said, look at Mr. Monroe's confident face. You must have thought of it too, right? Saintess Yushi and I thought of it together. We were just about to look for you. Mr. Monroe said politely. I'm not familiar with feng shui formations. It was mainly Mr. Monroe who came up with the idea. Mo Yushi said politely. What? Both of you have an idea. What is it? Yang Zigu was speechless. Merge with the feng shui formation and draw in the draconic chi to get the 10,000 Wonders Lotus. Mr. Monroe said. Merge? How? Yang Zigu was confused. This feng shui formation draws in the stars to strengthen the power of the formation. It also gives us a chance. As long as we get the will of the army destroyer, we will be recognized by the feng shui formation. Then, we can draw in the draconic chi to get the 10,000 Wonders Lotus. Mr. Monroe said confidently. That works? Yang Zigu was surprised. Mr. Monroe. Are you interested in the army destroyer? Yan Chuan smiled. I'm interested in the army destroyer. We're not interested in the army destroyer. Prince Yan, what about you? Mr. Monroe asked. Me? I don't need it. However, my first army commander, Huo Guang, can inherit the will of the army destroyer. There's still half a month left. What do you think? Yan Chuan asked. Huo Guang clenched his fists in excitement. Him. Humph. Yang Zigu said unhappily. That would be great. Mr. Monroe nodded. Huo Guang is now at LV9 of the Power Realm. In the next half a month, Miss Mo, as the Virgin of the Dazhao Holy Land, you must have a lot of resources. Can you push Huo Guang to LV10 of the Power Realm in half a month? Yan Chuan looked at Mo Yushi. Don't worry, it's just one level of the Power Realm. Leave it to me. Mo Yushi agreed readily. Mr. Monroe, you're an erudite celestial being. You must know a lot about triggering the first level thunder tribulation. Also, I'll have to trouble you with the will of the Alcade. Yan Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe and said. It's my honor. Mr. Monroe said with a smile. In that case, let's wait for half a month. Yan Chuan said confidently. Yes. Everyone nodded. After everyone left, Yang Zigu was left alone in the tent. Mr. Yang, what can I do for you? Yang Zigu also looked at Yan Chuan, holding back the disgust in his heart. Prince Yan. Yang Zigu said with an ugly smile. Mr. Yang, please speak your mind, Yan Chuan said with a smile. Huo Guang is your man. He listens to you. I want to ask you for a favor. Yang Zigu said with a fake smile. Oh. Please speak, Mr. Yang. I would like to ask you to help me obtain the 10,000 Wonder Demonic Lotus. After obtaining it, I will definitely reward you greatly. I can even recommend you to my father and have him take you in as his disciple. How about it? Yang Zhijiu said with a fake smile. Ha ha ha, Mr. Yang, you must be joking. Am I not helping you now? Yan Chuan said with a smile. No, I mean, help me get it. Just help me get it. Yang Zigu said anxiously. Yan Chuan looked at Yang Zigu with a teasing expression. I don't know what the result will be. Mr. Yang, if you follow me closely, you still have a chance to get the magic lotus. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Okay. Yang Zigu thought that Yan Chuan had agreed and was overjoyed. Chapter 110. Prince Yan. Mo Yushi's voice came from outside the tent. Yang Zigu's expression changed, and he said, if that's the case, I'll take my leave. Yan Chuan nodded. Yang Zigu hurried out, and Mo Yushi brought Qinglong and the rest in. Seeing that Yang Zigu had left, Mo Yushi frowned. She looked at Yan Chuan, and Mo Yushi chose not to ask. You're back. Yan Chuan looked at Qinglong and the rest. Yes, I've found out. However, I'm not sure if there are any experts hiding in the dark. Qinglong said with a smile. Let Mr. Monroe handle this matter. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Of course, I wouldn't dare to trouble Prince Yan with this matter. However, when I came back, I saw people who claimed to be from the Great Yan State. Qinglong said with certainty. Oh. People from the Yan State. Yan Chuan was slightly surprised. It should be. From the looks of it, they seem to be of high status in the Yan State. There were 3 people who had attained the full state of strength, and they were in a standoff with the great official of the Great Jing State. Qinglong nodded. The great official of the Great Jing State? Lu Gang. He's not dead yet. Yan Chuan's expression changed slightly. Outside the Heavenly Lake's protective shield, there was a wide valley. Around the valley, there were close to 100 people. Judging by the way they stood, it was obvious that they were not on the same side. They looked more like spectators. Hundreds of people gathered around and stared at the center of the battlefield. On one side, there were 2 people. One of them was the great official of the Great Jing State, Lu Gang. The demon snake had been eaten by Yan Chuan, and now it was here. Lu Gang bowed respectfully to a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. The man had a broad face and a domineering look in his eyes. Opposite the 2 of them was an extremely noble-looking young man. The young man carried a purple longsword on his back, and behind him stood 3 old men, all of them glaring angrily at the other side. Lu Gang said respectfully to the middle-aged man beside him, King Mai, he is the crown prince of the Yan State. The middle-aged man looked at Lu Gang and revealed a faint smile. Lu Gang, what are you worried about? Since I've agreed to take you as my disciple, I'll naturally recognize you as my disciple. Zheng's imperial family is my descendant. Since you're wholeheartedly devoted to Zheng, I'll naturally help you. Yes, thank you, master. Lu Gang said excitedly. I made an agreement with Yan Tao back then. Neither of us would interfere in the affairs between the 2 kingdoms. Now that Yan Tao is dead, I can't go back on my word. I won't interfere. As for you, it's up to you what you want to do. King Yi Mu said calmly. Yes. Disciple understands what to do. Lu Gang understood tacitly. King Yi Mu nodded. Lu Gang looked at the 4 people opposite him again, especially the young man in the lead. The young man was about 17 or 18 years old, about the same age as Yan Chuan. His appearance was more delicate, and there was a strong sense of heroism between his brows. Yan Wudi, do you still stand by your words? Lu Gang asked with a smile. Yan Wudi nodded. Of course I can represent my father and the Yan State. But what about you? You're just Zheng's consecrated. My master is King Yi Mu of Zheng. With my master as the witness, I can naturally represent Zheng. Lu Gang said. Yan Wudi looked at King Yi Mu. That's right. King Yi Mu nodded with a smile. Seeing King Yi Mu nod, Yan Wudi took a deep breath and said, all right, if that's the case, then let's compete. I'll bet the 6 southern cities of Yan State against the 6 northern cities of Zheng. We'll decide the victor in one battle. Good. Lu Gang said with satisfaction. Chapter 111. King Yi Mu stood at the side and watched calmly. Your Highness. The 3 people behind Yan Wudi asked worriedly. Yan Wudi shook his head and said, don't worry, my master is just checking the surroundings. He'll be back soon. Lu Gang and I are having a fair fight. King Yi Mu won't do anything to me. All right, Your Highness, be careful. The three stepped back. Nearly 100 onlookers looked on curiously. Only Yan Wudi and Lu Gang were left in the center. Yan Wudi, LV9 of the Strength Realm. Nice to meet you. Yan Wudi drew the purple sword from his back. LV9 of the Strength Realm? Ha, let's cut the crap. Come on. Lu Gang rubbed his bald head and drew his sword as well. The onlookers looked at Yan Wudi with disdain. LV9 of the Strength Realm? This mortal really doesn't know his place. He dares to challenge Lu Gang despite knowing that he's only at LV10 of the Strength Realm? With King Yimu's support, this Yan Wudi is bound to lose. Yen State. It seems like Yen Tao was in charge in the past, what a pity. Yan Wudi didn't care about the lamentations of the onlookers. Yan Wudi's hair fluttered in the wind. Yan Wudi's narrowed eyes opened, and the long sword in his hand immediately pierced towards Lu Gang. Buzz! The purple sword sliced through the air and reached Lu Gang in the blink of an eye. That's all you got? Lu Gang said disdainfully. A wisp of black smoke seeped out of the iron sword and was about to hit the purple sword. But at that moment, the purple sword tilted slightly and dodged the iron sword. Then, it stabbed Lu Gang's sword hilt. Ding! Lu Gang's hand went numb and his iron sword almost slipped out of his hand. Huh! Lu Gang's expression changed. Ding! 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 Yan Wudi's sword moved faster and faster. Although his strength was not as good as Lu Gang's, his speed was not slow at all. Moreover, he used his exquisite swordsmanship to force Lu Gang to retreat again and again. The great river surges, the Tao of hell is endless. Yan Wudi shouted. The sword technique in his hand was like a torrential river, crashing against Lu Gang wave after wave. How is this possible? Lu Gang actually retreated in defeat. In the blink of an eye, Lu Gang was actually suppressed by Yan Wudi and was unable to counterattack. Everyone's eyes lit up. Is this the sword art created by Yen Tao, the torrential sword art? That's right. I've seen him before. He was Yen Tao of the Day sect. His sword techniques were torrential, and he won every battle. This young man has actually learned 70% of the charm. Good sword art. The sounds of praises were endless. The three consecrated heaved a sigh of relief. On the other hand, King Wild raised an eyebrow and looked at Yan Wudi's sword art with a slightly serious expression. His sword art has reached such a level at such a young age? King Wild furrowed his brows. Torrential river, the sky collapses and falls. Yan Wudi shouted loudly, and a dazzling purple light suddenly erupted from the longsword in his hand. It was as if the longsword had transformed into a great river that rushed toward Lu Gang. At the same time, Yan Wudi seemed to have become one with the great river in an instant. It was as if he had disappeared into the sword art. Boom! Lu Gang was sent flying, and the iron sword in his hand instantly shattered, scattering all over the ground. You! Lu Gang looked at Yan Wudi in shock. It was as if he couldn't believe that he had lost to a young man. Did I see wrongly just now? Yan Wudi disappeared into the sword river. Man and sword as one. Impossible. How old is he? How could he have comprehended man and sword as one? Discussions broke out in the surroundings, and many people revealed looks of disbelief. Innate sword bone. King Wild suddenly said. Everyone looked at King Wild. I didn't think that there would be an innate sword bone among Yen Tao's descendants. Man and sword as one. Innate sword bone. Kid, are you willing to accept me as your master? King Wild suddenly shouted. No need. I already have a master. Yan Wudi said arrogantly. You already have a master. The purple sword in your hand is no ordinary sword. Is it a gift from your so-called master? King Wild said indifferently. That's right. The sword's name is Indigo. When I accepted him as my master, I swore that with this indigo sword, I would defeat all swords in the world. Yen Wuti said with certainty. Arrogant. A mere mortal dares to say that he would worship all swords in the world. Lu Gang. King Wild said in a deep voice. Your disciple is here. Lu Gang crawled up from the ground with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Today, I will bestow upon you the flying sword, flowing light. It will allow you to behead someone from 1,000 miles away. King Wild said in a deep voice. As he spoke, King Wild reached out with his hand, and a green longsword appeared in his palm. A flying sword. Lu Gang's eyes lit up. Master will help you refine the flying sword. Let's fight again. King Wild shouted. Yes. Lu Gang said excitedly. Chapter 112. Yen Wuti, come again, ha ha ha. Lu Gang shouted excitedly. 2 meters away from Lu Gang, a green longsword floated in the air. As Lu Gang spoke, the flying sword quickly flew around Lu Gang. Following Lu Gang's thoughts, the flying sword danced in the air. King Yi Mu stood to the side and watched quietly. The 100 or so onlookers were also silent. The 3 Yen state guardians looked worried. Yen Wuti held the azulate sword in his hand and watched with a serious expression. Come. Yen Wuti didn't back down at all. Xiao. The flying sword instantly shot towards Yen Wuti. Ding. The 2 swords collided with each other. Although Lu Guang was a flying sword, its strength was about the same as Zi Qing's. The 2 swords collided and retreated. Lu Gang's hand gestures were flying as he quickly controlled the flowing light to make a turn and slash towards Yen Wuti. Ding! Yen Wuti was also a genius in the sword Dao. He used the back sword style to block the slash of the flowing light. However, the flying swords were too strange. Without the obstruction of the sword wielder, they could attack from countless different angles, and each of them was fatal. Clink. 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 Lu Gang commanded the flying swords to attack at an extremely fast speed, rushing towards Yen Wuti like a storm, while he himself was more than 500 feet away, basically in an invincible position. Ha ha ha, Yen Wuti, your sword is too short. You can't hurt me. You will lose sooner or later. You should admit defeat. Lu Gang excitedly commanded his sword. Flying sword versus long sword, Yen Wuti will definitely lose. Yen Wuti can only defend. He can't attack Lu Gang. How can he win? Admit defeat. It's only 6 cities. Sounds of discussion could be heard all around. Yen Wuti cut a sorry figure as he swung the flying swords around. There were a few times where he almost lost his life to the flying swords. However, King Wild narrowed his eyes. Innate sword bones? As expected of an innate sword bone. Just a moment ago, he was still in a panic, but in such a short period of time, he was actually adapting to the flying sword. This child is extraordinary. He will become a great threat if we let him live. King Yi Mu's eyes narrowed. The finger hidden in King Mai's sleeve curled slightly. Buzz! The flying sword suddenly exploded with a dazzling green light. Boom! Ah! The flying sword erupted with a power several times stronger than before. With another violent collision, Yen Wuti was sent flying. Bang! Yen Wuti fell to the ground. Buzz! The flying sword suddenly shot in front of Yen Wuti, pointing straight at his throat. You lost! Lu Gang shouted excitedly. Yen Wuti looked at the flying sword in front of his throat, his face full of unwillingness. There are 6 cities in the southern border. Once we're out of the feng shui formation, the state of Zheng can send people to retrieve them. Although Yen Wuti was unwilling, he kept his promise. Lu Gang waved his hand, and the flying sword immediately returned to him. Yen Wudi, the Yen state will soon be destroyed without Yen Tao. How about becoming my disciple? I can guarantee your Yen state's safety for 100 years. King Mai said. After all, an innate sword bone was too rare. Yen Wudi shook his head and said, I already said that I've already become your disciple. So what if you've become his disciple? At most, he can protect you. He can't protect the Yen state. Once Yen Tao is dead, who will protect the Yen state? As for you, once you're strong enough, the Yen state will be long gone. King Mai tried to persuade him again. Yen Wudi clenched his fists. Although he knew that King Mai was right, he was still stubborn. He refused to change his master. So, King Mai pressed forward. Who said that no one will protect the Yen state? The Dae sect has always been protecting it. A voice came from the crowd. Chapter 113. King Ye's eyes widened as he looked into the distance. A middle-aged Taoist with a long sword on his back and a gourd hanging from his waist walked over with a smile. It was none other than Zhu Jiansheng, who had taken away the Dae sect disciples after Yen Chuan taught them a lesson. Zhu Jiansheng? It's you. King Yi said coldly. Ha ha ha, Senior Mai, Martial Uncle Yen Tao is protecting the Yen state because of the Dae sect. Have you forgotten? He's a junior from the Yen state. Senior Mai, you won't make things difficult for him, right? Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. What? Zhu Jiansheng, are you interested in this kid as well? King Yi asked in a low voice. An innate sword bone is indeed suitable for the path of the sword. Of course I'm interested. However, I won't force him. It's all up to him. Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. Senior Zhu Jiansheng. Thank you for your kindness. I've already become your disciple. I won't change my mind. Yen Wudi said. It's fine. Martial Uncle Yen Tao is a genius. It's normal for him to have a few geniuses among his juniors. I can only say that we're not fated to be together. However, I've promised Martial Uncle Yen Tao that I'll protect the Yen state. Zhu Jiansheng said. Yen Tao is dead, and there's no one from the Yen state in the Dae sect. Does the Dae sect want to make an enemy out of me because of an insignificant person? King Yi said in a low voice. I wouldn't dare. However, Senior Mai is wrong. Who said that there's no one from the Yen state in the Dae sect? Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. King Yi narrowed his eyes. Are you talking about Yen Chuan? Yen Tao's son. Lu Gang exclaimed. Oh. Ha ha ha, Yen Tao's son. You're only in your teens, right? What? You're still alive? King Yi Mu chuckled. Of course I'm still alive. Suddenly, a voice sounded. King Mai is of the same generation as my father, and I've admired him for a long time. But today, he used his cultivation to bully a junior of the Yen clan. This doesn't match the rumors. Ah, this has disappointed Yen Chuan. A voice suddenly came from the crowd. King Ye's expression darkened. Lu Gang, Zhu Jiansheng, and Yen Wudi all looked in the direction of the voice. The crowd dispersed as 5 people slowly walked out. They were Yen Chuan, Lu Jin, Mo Shi, Qing Long, and White Tiger. King Wild narrowed his eyes when he saw the 5 of them. Apart from Yen Chuan and Lu Jin, he couldn't see through their cultivation bases. Yen Chuan. It's you. Lu Gang said with hatred in his eyes. Isn't this honorary Lu? I have to thank Consecrator Lu for the last time. The snake meat was indeed delicious. Yen Chuan smiled as he walked out. You. Lu Gang's expression darkened. Junior brother Yen Chuan. We meet again. Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. Yen Chuan looked at Zhu Jiansheng and nodded. Thank you for making enemies with King Mai for our great Yen. Ha, I'll keep my promise to your father. Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. Yan Chuan nodded and looked at Yan Wudi and the 3 honorary elders. My king, lord. The 3 honorary elders thought for a moment and stepped forward. Yan Chuan smiled. Crown Prince, this is the king equal to 1. Lu Jin reminded. Yan Chuan waited quietly. Looking at Yan Chuan, who was about the same age as him, Yan Wudi had a complicated expression on his face. Crown Prince, you can't forget the etiquette. One of the honorary elders advised in a low voice. Yan Wudi raised his eyebrows and nodded. He took a deep breath and bowed to Yan Chuan. Greetings, Uncle Wang. Yan Wudi said with difficulty. If it weren't for etiquette, Yan Wudi wouldn't have said it. In Yan Wudi's heart, he didn't respect Yan Chuan at all. Chapter 114. Yan Chuan's status was the same as Yan Emperor's, which meant that he was in the same generation as Yan Emperor. That was why Yan Wudi addressed him as Uncle Wang. Not bad. You're born with a sword bone. With some training, you'll definitely become someone great. Yan Chuan nodded in satisfaction. Yan Wudi's expression turned strange as he listened to Yan Chuan's words. He didn't respond. After the reunion, Yan Chuan's gaze turned to the outside world again. King Yi. Yan Chuan smiled. Yan Tao and I are in the same generation. You should call me Martial Uncle. King Yi smiled. Ha ha ha, I haven't even joined the Dai sect yet. How can I call you Martial Uncle? But King Yi knows that you're in the same generation as my father. Why would you sneak attack a junior? Yan Chuan smiled. King Yi narrowed his eyes. One had to know that his attack was extremely subtle. How could a mortal like Yan Chuan know? Could it be? Yan Wudi looked at King Wild in surprise. Was it really King Wild's doing that caused his flying sword's power to skyrocket? Yan Chuan, you brat, do you think you can slander my master? Lu Gang immediately scolded. Heh. So it's honorary Lu. What's wrong? Do you feel proud teaming up with King Yi to bully a junior? Yan Chuan said disdainfully. You're the one. Lu Gang was furious. Impudent. King Yi suddenly yelled. With a shout, King Wild's aura suddenly skyrocketed as he charged towards Yan Chuan. His powerful aura swept up a huge cloud of dust as it rushed toward Yan Chuan. Boom! A gust of wind blew, and King Ye's aura was pushed back. A person suddenly appeared in front of Yan Chuan. It was Qing Long. Qing Long glared at King Wild, his aura surging towards King Wild. King Yi Mu's expression froze. Their auras clashed against each other, and layers of shockwaves rolled out in all directions. At this moment, the eyes of the onlookers were filled with excitement. Who is this person? He's actually on par with King Yi. He's helping Yan Chuan. Am I not a friend of Yan Tao? That's right. Yan Tao was a peerless talent back then. It's normal for him to have a few powerful friends. There were endless discussions all around. Qing Long and King Wild also slowly withdrew their attacks. No one could do anything to the other. Who are you? King Wild stared at Qing Long. You don't need to know. Qing Long shook his head and stood behind Yan Chuan. King Wild's eyes flickered. In the end, he looked at Yan Chuan again. At this moment, he looked at Yan Chuan with a much more serious gaze. Yan Wudi also looked at this Uncle Wang with a complicated expression. His eyes flashed with confusion. Lu Gang, did you just cheat my nephew of 6 cities? Yan Chuan yelled at Lu Gang. Lu Gang almost vomited blood. Was that cheating? I'm betting with him. How is that cheating? Lu Gang said gloomily. Betting? Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. That's right. He used 6 cities in the south of the Yan dynasty, and I used 6 cities in the north of the Zheng dynasty. It's a fair bet. How is that cheating? Lu Gang explained. You can decide the cities in Zheng? Yan Chuan asked. My master is the Zheng dynasty's King Wild. His status is higher than the Zheng emperor. Of course I can. Lu Gang said proudly. If that's the case, how about I bet with you? Yan Chuan smiled. You? Lu Gang frowned. What? You don't dare. You dare to cheat my nephew, but you don't dare to bet with me? Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Let's bet. Lu Gang suddenly stopped and looked at King Wild. If he wants to bet, then you'll have to accompany him. You're only at LV8 strength realm. King Wild said disdainfully. Yes. Lu Gang said immediately. If you want to die, then don't blame me. I'll bet 6 cities with you. Lu Gang said confidently. 6 cities. I can't afford that. Yan Chuan smiled. Ha ha ha, it's good that you know your place. If you can't afford 6 cities, how many cities do you want to bet? 4 cities, 3 cities. 1 city is fine too. Lu Gang said excitedly. You don't understand what I mean. I said that 6 cities are too little. Yan Chuan laughed. Too little. How much do you want to bet? Lu Gang frowned. My Yan state has 3 provinces in the south and 42 cities. Do you dare to bet? Yan Chuan asked with a solemn expression. Chapter 115. The Yan state has 3 provinces and 42 cities in Nanjiang. Do you dare to bet? Yan Chuan's face turned solemn. 3 provinces. 42 cities. Lu Gang took a deep breath. That was equivalent to 1/5 of the Yan state's territory. The whole of Nanjiang was at stake. Not only Lu Gang, but even Crown Prince Yan Wudi's expression changed. Yan Wudi had taken a huge risk in the first 6 cities. How could Yan Chuan do it? What? You don't dare. Yan Chuan laughed. What a joke. It's not that I don't dare, but can you afford it? Lu Gang scolded. In the Yan state, my words are the Yan emperor's words. Do you think I can afford it? Yan Chuan said in a low voice. You. Lu Gang was speechless. It's only 42 cities. Ask your master if he dares. Yan Chuan teased. Master. Lu Gang looked at King Yi. 42 cities. Lu Gang didn't dare to make the decision. King Yi stared at Yan Chuan and fell silent for a while. Then, he suddenly laughed, ha, good. As expected of Yan Tao's son. 42 cities. It's only 42 cities. The Zheng dynasty has 42 cities in Nanjiang. Lu Gang, bet with him. Yes. Lu Gang answered. In King Ye's eyes, Lu Gang was at 10th stage strength realm, while Yan Chuan was at 8th stage strength realm. Moreover, Yan Chuan was definitely not as experienced as Lu Gang. How could Lu Gang lose this battle? Yan Chuan, since you want to lose, then come at me. Ha. Lu Gang calmed himself down and laughed. Yan Wudi looked anxious, but for some reason, he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. Yan Chuan chuckled. Sure, but I still want to know if you're going to fight me alone, or if you and King Mai are going to team up against me. Impudent. King Wild Mu glared at Qin Lai, his face flushed with anger. My master won't interfere, just me. Lu Gang also shouted. Yan Chuan chuckled. All right, but my sword strikes are extremely fast, and I can't stop myself. King Mai, watch out for me. If your precious disciple is in danger, you still have to save him. How arrogant. King Yi Mu said coldly. Yan Chuan, do you only know how to talk? Draw your swords. Lu Gang shouted. I don't have a sword. Yan Chuan said indifferently. King Mai. Lu Gang. Nephew, lend me your azure sword. If I defeat Lu Gang, I'll return it to you. Yan Chuan looked at Yan Wudi. Yan Wudi looked at Yan Chuan strangely with a complicated expression. Uncle Wang, please. Yan Wudi reluctantly handed over the azure sword. Yan Chuan grabbed the azure sword and flicked his finger. Ding! Purple steel essence. What a good sword. What's more, it's most suitable for someone with an innate sword bone. It seems like your new master is also someone who understands swords. Yan Chuan praised. Yan Wudi was surprised. Yan Chuan grabbed the azulate sword and lightly waved it twice. He then looked at Lu Gang and said, Come, I'm very fast. Humph. Lu Gang snorted. With a cold snort, Lu Gang waved his finger. Buzz! The flying sword, flowing light, suddenly trembled. Whoosh! The azure light instantly shot towards Yan Chuan. It was extremely fast, as if it wanted to pierce through Yan Chuan. Everyone stared at the flying sword. Yan Chuan's eyes narrowed, and he suddenly thrust the azure sword forward. Ding! The two swords suddenly clashed. Sparks flew. The flying sword was sent flying back. Chapter 116. But at this moment, several pairs of eyes suddenly froze. King Mai, Qing Long, Zhijiansheng, and even Yan Wudi, who was born with the sword bone. Everyone looked at Yan Chuan. That strike was too accurate, so accurate that it was unimaginable. When Yan Wudi fought, their swords only clashed at the edge, but Yan Chuan's strike was at the tip. Yan Chuan's sword had pierced through that tiny point. Coincidence? It must be a coincidence. Zhijiansheng muttered to himself. Yan Wudi's expression became more and more complicated, while King Mai's expression became more and more serious. After a moment of collision, the flying sword shot back towards Yan Chuan. At this moment, Yan Chuan strangely turned around. His turn was fierce and fast. He swung the azure sword in his hand in a circle, and when it reached its maximum speed, it just happened to turn back. Yan Chuan suddenly let go of the azure sword, which was pointed at Lu Gang, and even gave the azure sword a boost. Go! Yan Chuan shouted. The azure sword flew out of his hand, and like a flying sword, it shot towards Lu Gang at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh! The azure sword and the flying sword almost brushed past each other. The azure sword shot towards Lu Gang, while the flying sword shot towards Yan Chuan. Seeing this scene, almost everyone was petrified. What's going on? Why did Yan Chuan throw the sword away? He's crazy. The azure sword isn't a flying sword. Does he think it's a dart? Not only were the onlookers shocked, but even Yan Wudi and King Mai were stunned by this scene. In a flash, the flying sword arrived in front of Yan Chuan, and he was about to be stabbed by the flying sword. Yan Chuan shifted his feet and leaned his body to the side, narrowly dodging the flying sword. The flying sword brushed past the tip of Yan Chuan's nose. Just when everyone thought that the flying sword had failed, they looked towards the azulate sword on the other side. Yan Chuan moved again. No one knew when, but his right arm had already stretched out. He stretched out his hand and grabbed. In the blink of an eye, he had actually grabbed the hilt of the flying sword. Grabbed the hilt of the flying sword? He had lost the azulate sword and caught the flying sword. Yan Wudi looked at this strange fighting style in astonishment. But it wasn't over yet. Yan Chuan once again made a big turn, grabbed the flying sword and swung it in a big circle. With a huge momentum, when Yan Chuan's figure stood upright, he suddenly swung the flying sword out, and the flying sword was shot out in the direction of Lu Gang. The azulate sword and flying sword shot towards Lu Gang at the same time. With two magnificent turns, two swords shot towards Lu Gang. The shocking change made the surrounding spectators hold their breaths. Their eyes shone with a dazzling light. Swish! Swish! The azulate sword was the first to reach Lu Gang. With the terrifying sword tip in front of him, how could Lu Gang still have the mind to control the flying sword? At this moment, the flying sword seemed to be blocked by a huge force, and he couldn't control it. Ah! Horrified, Lu Gang retreated backward. But no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than two swords? Whoosh! Whoosh! The two swords were overflowing with killing intent. In the blink of an eye, they were about to pierce through Lu Gang. Master! Lu Gang cried out in horror. Pang! Pang! King Wild suddenly stood in front of Lu Gang, holding a sword in each hand. His fingertips held the two swords in place, and they trembled violently. Hiss! King Wild looked at the two swords in his hands in shock. Lu Gang had escaped with his life. His forehead was covered in sweat. As he gasped for breath, his heart was still flustered. The surrounding spectators couldn't help but feel the soul-stirring scene. Their hearts were surging. Good! Mo Yushi was the first to cry out. Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan again, and her eyes flashed with excitement. It was as if she was the one who had unleashed the graceful dual swords just now. Good, good, good sword. Zhijiansheng also sobered up. Amazing. I didn't think that sword techniques could be used like this. This is the first time I've seen someone use a sword like this. It's amazing. Sword toss, sword snatch, sword toss. Amazing. I didn't expect this. Yan Chuan. Yan Tao's son. Like father, like son. Just as expected. Cheers came from all around. Yan Chuan's move was indeed amazing. Yan Wudi looked at Uncle Wang with a complicated expression. Although he was known as a sword genius, there was no way he could defeat Lu Gang in a single round. Could it be that Uncle Wang's sword technique was even better? No, I will surpass you. I will become the strongest sword cultivator in the world. Yan Wudi clenched his fists and swore in his heart. Cheers came from all around. On the other hand, King Yi Mu and Lu Gang's expressions were extremely ugly. King Yi Mu had made his move, announcing Lu Gang's complete defeat. The 42 cities of the Great Zheng had also changed hands in this short moment. Master, I didn't think that Yan Chuan would throw away his sword. I also didn't think that he would snatch my flying sword. Aye. Lu Gang hurriedly explained. But what was the point of explaining? A loss was a loss. He didn't think that Yan Chuan would toss the azure sword. He was completely unprepared. He was doomed to lose. King Yi Mu gripped his two swords and looked at Yan Chuan with a gloomy expression. Yan Chuan's amazing move was like a slap to his face. He couldn't defend himself at all. Yan Chuan. King Yi Mu said coldly. Thank you for your 42 cities, King Yi Mu. Yan Chuan thanks you. Yan Chuan said with a smile. At this moment, Yan Chuan's laughter was ear-piercing. Ha 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 ha, Yan Tao's son. King Yi Mu's voice was extremely cold. As he spoke, King Yi Mu's hand suddenly shone with a black light, as if he wanted to destroy the azure sword to vent his anger. Stop! Yan Wudi shouted in Jiaohu's direction. Who dares to destroy my sword? An angry roar suddenly came from all directions. Hum! 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 Following this angry roar, a powerful sword intent spread out. Among the 100 or so onlookers, as long as they had a sword, their swords suddenly trembled. It was as if they were welcoming the arrival of the King of Swords. The azure sword and azure sword, flowing light, were trembling even though they were in King Yimu's hand. Zhujiansheng was the first to react. He quickly pressed down on his sword, preventing it from humming. Whoosh! The azure sword left King Yimu's hand and shot towards the center of the field. Another person suddenly appeared in the center of the field. It was a black-robed man with white hair at his temples. He stood alone in the center of the field, and a powerful sword intent shot out from where he stood. Pa! The man grabbed the azure sword. Master! Yan Wudi exclaimed in surprise. Dugu Sword Emperor. Qing Long raised his eyebrows. The black-robed man in the center of the field held the azure sword and stared at King Yimu with cold eyes. It was as if two extremely sharp swords could shoot out from his eyes. His powerful aura was like a sharp sword, pointing straight at people's hearts. Many of the spectating experts retreated under the pressure of this aura. It's you, Dugu Sword Emperor. King Yimu's face turned ugly. Why is my disciple's sword in your hands? Dugu Sword Emperor said coldly.